In the social justice system, there are people who are pestered by two separate, yet equally annoying groups. Thought police, who project crimes, and the Reddit attorneys, who persecute the wrong thinkers. These are their stories.
And welcome, everybody.
What was that?
That was awesome.
That was amazing.
Lull and order intro whenever we talk about law topics.
I had to wear my smart glasses today because these are a fancy dancy
Absolutely.
law and order show.
Well, you know, it's the whiskey chasers unit today, so I figured, gonna break out the good stuff, the Highland Park 18.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about some law topics today.
Awesome.
I know Phoenix Orem put this all together, so props to Phoenix.
Thanks, Phoenix.
Welcome to the show, our Supreme Canuckleheads. And so, how are you all doing today?
I'm doing good. I got my beer. Everything's good.
Amazing. And how are you, Mr. Ricada, on the show for the first time?
Yeah, I've been trying to avoid it forever.
Against your will.
Thanks, Nick.
I'm kidding.
No,
And I'm just happy that Phoenix reminded me that we had this show today because I agreed to the show back when I was in Florida, which was like over a month ago, and then my entire personal life has gone to hell.
Awesome.
And so it's I was like, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna have you on the show, or we're gonna have you on the show on Friday, and I was like, oh Jesus.
Sweet baby Jesus.
I forgot completely because I didn't put it in my calendar back in the thing, and I was like, okay, let me just. There's nothing there. It's good. I'm on. So
we had a few kitchens to replace, so it's okay. We forgive.
But I'm really glad to be on. My day's going well. I walked into my house and ran downstairs and got on this call. And I was like, children, don't die. So
I may return eventually from the basements.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
I'm going to be in your mom's basement.
Yeah. So I guess we've had quite a few things going on recently in terms of the law, like the law stratosphere. I know Phoenix had some specific things to talk about. And I know just to give a plug for your show, I'm sure everybody knows already who's coming.
Nick has a show
for your show, Ricada.
Someone just told me.
Are we just telling you now?
Yeah.
I mean, who is this guy?
Oh, am I supposed to play? Sorry.
Yeah. Plug your show.
I didn't know. I thought you were doing it, and so I was just listening. No, it's my show.
You have a show, Nick. That's amazing. When's you get a show, man?
My show is Ricada Law on YouTube.
Okay.
That's youtube.com/Ricada Law. And it is recently updated.
That's awesome.
To be
more Kung Fu grip, I hope.
Yes. There's always more. So when it comes out, it goes drip, drip, drip.
That's awesome.
No, it's recently updated. It is only a live show on Ricada Law. I have changed policy for the 58th time in a week.
That's not bad.
It is now
beat your old record. Perfect.
Yeah, it is only a live show. So if you come to the channel, you are only getting like 3 to 5 hours of live content whenever we go live, which is basically every weeknight.
And you better like it or else.
Yeah.
That's right.
Click like and subscribe and follow and bells.
Thank you very much for mentioning that. Should we shell it out, Crumb? tell people to like this particular broadcast.
I mean, I
Hit the
think
tackle bell.
I think people like him a lot more than they like us.
Well, that's not true.
They
Wait a
shouldn't.
second. We have the best chats of all the YouTubes that follow our broadcast every single week on Saturdays around 6 o'clock Toronto's time. That
I really like that
is for
Drexel
the
guy
record,
that shows
and the
up
records are always good.
sometimes.
What's that, Phoenix?
I really
Sorry,
like that
what was
Drexel
that?
guy that shows up.
Yes, Drexel is an awesome man specimen. Let's not forget about that. He's always great with the chats.
Drexel's a
Lives.
good dude.
Yes, this is very
He sent
true.
us the weirdest messages, like with all the most ridiculous stuff that is on the internet.
Well,
I can
you
see
know,
it.
the
Hey,
funny-
Crumb, have you read this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You gotta see
Crumb,
these
what do you
thoughts. You gotta see these thoughts. Can't believe it. This is ridiculous. This is what I'm talking about every week. Every week I'm
Why
going
do
in
people
on
have
these
these
thoughts.
thoughts? What's wrong with these
Hey,
people?
Nick.
Yeah,
Keck
what's
says to show your Patreon.
up? What's a Patreon? I've never heard of it.
What is this? Phoenix with an F. What Patreon stuff you speak about?
I suppose I also have a Patreon and a subscribe star if people hate Patreon, which they should.
Yes.
And you can check that out, and doing that gets you access to the Discord. Yesterday we played Among Us with the Discord peoples.
yeah.
And it was a blast. It was a blast. Although someone on this chat who shall not be named tried to disrupt the Among Us by delivering devastating news of loss.
It's true.
Well, that
And
was
so
so that has to be Phoenix.
So let's
Crazy
you know,
bastard.
because I am a classy bitch, and as
Oh,
much,
that's you, Crumb.
equally class, equally salt, I have to give a toast to our dearly departed Andrew Stallings. For those of you who don't know, passed away in September. I'm only going to raise a glass to him. I'm not going to say anything else. So
I will say one thing. And this is stop laughing. It's not going to be funny.
That's certainly hilarious, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Andrew had a Kiwi Farms thread. It is not voluminous. He probably never made it to official lolcow status or anything like that.
Oh.
He seems to just be kind of your run of the mill sort of internet person that people might have disagreements with. That's fine.
Okay.
Kiwi Farms.
I'm going to encourage the audience. Andrew's last tweet was one in anger. And that is the last thing that many, like it was made just mere minutes to hours before he passed away.
Okay.
And it was a tweet about protesting in someone's neighborhood and something like that. And that is just not how you should live. It's not how you should live your life. All this, there's so much anger out there, and people need to be laughing. Like, we can disagree with each other and laugh about it. We can make jokes. We got to stop being so serious about like insults and jokes being like the most offensive thing. They're not. This was a guy whose last words to the world that who outside of his immediate interactions was anger and bile. And that's crazy. Laugh. Don't be stuck like that, or else you might have a massive heart attack and die as well.
Ooh, I
This
had
is
a
true.
heart attack about Tongo,
This is true.
so I feel that.
No, his last, I guess, hour on this earth. I don't really know much details about it outside of the fact of his Twitter timeline, but it was all just like him fighting and saying nasty things to people left and right. But he passed away September 24th, I think it was. Yeah. And most of the world didn't find out until a month later. So that's something.
Oh, wow.
Something to remind, just kind of remind all of us, I guess, that life is just too short to be bitter and hateful. I mean, this one is going out to you, Stallings.
I raise a glass to you.
There you go.
You
Cheers.
Weird individual.
You're describing all three of us, Nick.
Because
always
Nick loves us all.
People always take that negatively. I was talking to my kid, and I called him a weirdo or whatever. And he's like, hey. And I was like, what's wrong with being weird? Like, I want to be anything other than normal. That is because, one of my favorite movies. I usually say it's my favorite movie is American Beauty, and that's the big insult, right? The weird kid with the camera tells the what's her face, Mira Sorvino or whatever.
Yeah.
I can never pronounce her name. He says you're normal and you're ordinary and you're boring and you know it.
Such an
right.
insult.
It was vicious, and she's just like, I'm normal. It was funny, but it's true. It's true. So I say weirdo as a term of endearment, except when you're a weirdo, then it's not.
Yeah, when you cross over that line, that very, very thin line between going, you know what, we can accept this versus, oh, look, there's a 9-year-old. We have to dox that person.
Well, yeah.
There's that line, isn't there?
Well, you gotta dox him if you're gonna hit him with a remote control.
Oh, my
exactly.
goodness.
You gotta know where to aim the remote cannon.
There's a cannon now? My gosh. The weaponry from this guy just gets more and more involved and creative, doesn't it?
Well, before we jump in too hard into the topics that we have, because they're a bit more just like law topics and your general stuff. I do also want to give an honorable mention to a couple clowns that we have that are masquerading as I don't even know what they're masquerading on Twitter as.
People?
Really? I guess they're pretending to be people online.
There you go.
Good God.
They're trying.
Again, I am a bitter crumb today, and that's fine.
You are. You got your new camera. You got your new microphone with the spit
my
mic
new everything.
there, spit guard, and
I got a spit fire. That's all it is.
All right.
But because I'm going to put it out there because I know. I guess they copyrighted their names too. So here comes the incoming DMCA strike. For
Emmett, can you do this?
Emmett Plant and Catherine Tucson.
You said the words. Oh no.
Yeah, I know. Incoming DMCA strike.
Exactly.
I don't know. There's been a lot of morons that have been adding me for some reason because I called those idiots out, and I guess they just didn't read the Twitter terms of service, and that you just, whatever you post on Twitter, it gives like a free license to use basically anywhere else.
Yeah, and let's if we could talk about that for a second, because there's some semantic and pedantic arguments that are trying to be made. Tucson's like, well, it's my original art. You can't.
Mr. Ricada, that's your full minute. Thank you very much.
Listen here, Susan.
Mr. Ricada.
You think I won't take this plexiglass and shove it down your throat? No.
Mike.
Okay, so here's the deal.
All right.
What you can't do, what Twitter doesn't give you a license to do, is to take someone's art that they post on Twitter and to take the art and then go distribute the art.
Exactly.
But if they tweet out a tweet and you put that tweet somewhere else, you're likely not violating copyright because you're not actually like taking the art. You're using the publication that they published to Twitter, which they gave a license to Twitter to give a license to everybody else to share. And so Tucson is out here saying, well, he had my tweet up with my profile picture for 2 whole minutes. It's like, listen, first of all, nobody wants to see that shitty art for 2 minutes, much less any minutes. Second of all, he's not distributing your art. The art is incidental to the publication that is actually being displayed. He's not taking the art and distributing it. In fact, I'm sure if he could blank it out really easily, he probably would, because it's hideous. It's bad art. It's bad art. And now, I guess to avoid DMCA, every time I show her stupid profile picture, I'll have to spend like 3 minutes shitting on the composition of that art. Critically, to just make sure that we understand this is a critical analysis, if I may.
Miss Holmes, you'll have 2 minutes to reply.
Can I have an extra 30 seconds? Because
Miss Holmes, we have to stay on time. We have to stay online
Susan.
here. We got several questions to ask this afternoon.
Susan, I have to respond. Susan,
You're over your time, Mr. Ricada.
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Mr. Ricada, your teams have agreed to our rules moving forward in today's broadcast.
Susan,
nothing after that.
Susan, listen, I've got to go back to something, Susan, because this just
Mr. Ricada, you're over your time.
I wish he would have had. I wish he would have had those little. Have you guys seen I forget what they're called. It's basically a giant spark gap that they use in that they can use for voltage measurements and stuff like that. But it's these two wires that go up like that, and then a big spark goes up between them. I wish they would have wired up Pence with a couple of those, and like every time Kamala started saying something stupid, just
that would have been awesome.
What I want for the next presidential debate, I want them both to have air horns, and instead of just and each other.
But I want a rule where they can't interrupt with the air horn. What they have to do is after they diss the other person, they have to go beep, 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 like that. That's the only use. Like they have the air horn, but they can only use it on their own time.
That'd be hilarious.
That would be, oh my gosh. Only they could think like that. Could you imagine the prep meeting? We should have an air horn. Would you shut up, new person? We know this is going to be boring, dumb. They're going to talk over each other. It's not going to matter what we use. Get the air horn, Susan.
Get the air horn. Just trust me. Have you been on the internet in the last 10 years? Also, we need a row of inner city youth yelling "World Star" the whole time.
World Star.
That's just Toronto.
Oh my gosh. So one thing I did want to say, just to pack up that fat cow for a moment, just send her off to pasture. Just to, like, I don't know how many people have been following that moron on Twitter. I mean, hopefully nobody, but they've been trying to dox that Jordan Reapers person for like a fucking month, a month, and like it's been said many times before. People have actually brought it up. It's like you've had Tucson's tweets and shit on your channel so many times, and she's never DMCA'd you. Partially because I don't think she's stupid enough to do that. But.
And also Nick's a lawyer. That'd be kind of, stupid. What's his fake DMCA, Susan? Nothing.
But my personal opinion here, we all follow her. It's called gravity. Shout outs to AWIG 81003 in the chat for that gem. But my personal beliefs here, now put the tinfoil hat on, Alex Jones moment, but I think 100% that this is a play for Emmett and Catherine to get Jordan Reaper's information and dox it, because if I'm not mistaken, they're the ones that provided that to Toye in the first place to leak, and they accidentally doxed a 9-year-old child that played Roblox.
Well, and in the leaked DMs, what are you doing in here?
What's going on, Mr. Ricada? Why are children on your set? We've talked about this.
You have a mosquito bite?
Yeah.
No.
How'd you get a mosquito bite?
Because there was a pail and down on my desk.
Okay, do you need a kiss?
Yeah.
Where?
Oh, wholesome moment.
Okay, right here.
And right here.
Okay.
Yes. And
on your dress?
Yeah.
Okay. Get out of here, ladies.
This is why I sub for this content. Beautiful.
Too awesome, Nick. My goodness gracious.
Too cute.
See, one second. I want to circle this just for a second. That's how parroting is done, Mr. Toye. Okay? Lots of hugs, lots of kisses, not agreeing with your child on social media. Okay? Let's take some notes from Mr. Ricada from that.
Where's my... I only did that because I don't have a remote handy.
Oh. Oh goodness!
Oh my goodness!
But so in what I was saying was in the leaked DMs between Catherine Tucson and Ron Toye, that was Tucson was volunteering to gather information for Ron through basically like email metadata.
Yeah,
and to use that to attempt to dox people, and people know, like, I'm not, I don't dox people. It's not a thing that I do. but I realize that it's the internet and people are going to dox and do doxing and stuff like that. And I don't believe it's illegal in the US in 99.9% of cases. And so it's a thing. I'm not a fan of doing it, but I also like, what are you going to do about it? So on balance, I don't think doxing is the worst thing in the world. I prefer people didn't do it. But that being said, these are the people who are complaining about the doxing of other people. But behind closed doors, the hypocrisy comes out that they're trying to do it. And Ron definitely attempted to dox Jordan Reapers. It didn't work because he doxed a child like a weirdo. And then exactly, he crossed the line.
He did, didn't he?
You saw immediately the difference between a weirdo and a weirdo.
Yes. Lowercase W, uppercase everything.
And so he did cross the line there, and it failed. And Ron, I've heard, has been quiet on Twitter for about 4 or 5 days now.
He has.
That's got to be a record.
And so I think a couple things are probably factoring into that. But one of those things, I think, is probably that Tucson is running a screen for him. And I mean, to be fair, she runs a screen for the entire Earth just by standing up. So that's
gravity
how
shift.
it is. But yeah, I think that much is it's a reasonable assumption that this is done for the purposes of trying to get the docs to deliver to Ron Toye.
I think so too, 100%.
What's Toye going to do with this information at the end of the day? Like, is there a plan for this at all?
He's trying to intimidate people to stop supporting Vic Mignogna. That's what the situation is.
Yeah. Well, there's
so basically he says we have your address. You can't support Vic regardless. Oh, the child comes back in the picture.
What do you got to go play with your sisters.
I gotta see the boy the
Where? You can't there aren't mosquitoes in our house, lady. Okay, last one.
No more mosquitoes after the children.
Yeah. Okay.
Those mosquitoes, they end up like Lemony.
Too funny.
Mosquitoes are coming for your children.
One other interesting thing that I found, well, I heard, didn't find it myself, but someone else brought it to my attention, was that apparently Catherine might have Freudian slipped that she had been masquerading as Martin Bettich, saying that she had conversations with Erica McCord, I think it was, and Erica apparently has no recollection of ever talking directly to Catherine, but she had talked at length with Martin Bettich. So
that may be. It would not surprise me if, obviously Bettich is a shell account of some sort. Mm-hmm. And what they did when whoever created the Law Archive account after I let go of the they were at the very least, if it wasn't run entirely by Catherine Tucson, she was sharing the login information with other people.
Yeah,
that much came out after much kvetching and denial over it, like, and then people started putting together some stuff, and it came out, and then it was like, lol, of course we were all doing it, lol.
Lol. Just kidding, man.
You guys just sat and denied it for months and months and months, and then said, oh no, it was obvious. Like, well, yeah, it was. That was the problem. And so the Bettich Martin, I think, is a similar, if not the same thing. I think that it's at least funny to call Bettich Martin a fat white woman, whether or not it's her. But I do believe that it's, that there's someone using that handle. It could even be Lemons, really.
It really could.
But no, I think it's funnier if it was a sad fat white woman from Seattle.
I gotta hop in here though, Nick. I just want to give a quick shout out to Ken Jennings. He's in the chat. And why I brought you onto the show
wait a minute. Okay,
Jennings is a mutual friend of. Yes.
Why don't we get Jennings on the show? Let's get Jennings on the show if we can. He's got the time.
If he wants to join in, sure.
All right. Only Crumb could do that. Of course,
So
she's
we
on the
should-
phone, distracting your time.
Oh my
So
god. I'm waiting for a callback for a fucking COVID test, and this is the second fucking, calling
you
from the
getting
legal
robo-
department
are you
of
getting
Canada Revenue
robocalls?
Agency. Yeah, I'm getting robocalls
I
constantly.
hate those.
Awesome. Crumb, Ken's in the chat. Should we get him on the show?
Ken wants to come on the show.
Yeah.
I will not be on the
Janet-
show with Ken Jennings.
Listen,
I will
Ricada, your team agreed to our rules.
I will not share the stage with someone who's better than me at trivia.
We have plexiglass between the four of us. We could either fit a fifth
We-
one in somehow.
Though we'd be a whole cast if we had Ken Jennings on our show. We have the law, we have the LOL, and we have the psychiatry.
Exactly. We have all facets of it.
We must have the
There we
Jennings on the show, not Jennings. Did you guys hear that the
Not-
real Ken
not
Jennings is
Ken
going to take over Jeopardy one day? Did you hear about this?
It's going to take it over, like when Trebek dies.
Well, or when he retires,
Or
'cause,
like,
he's
just like Trebek's just going to absorb his soul like a lich.
Yeah, because hasn't Trebek been the same age for 30 years?
yes,
And
it's
he's
a
got
very
cancer.
interesting aging process for that gentleman.
Is he Canadian?
He is.
Trebek? I figured. God, always the Canadians.
Of course. What else do you expect? Expect the unexpected. The polite, we're sorry, Canadians. It should be the Germans, but it's the Canadians
Wait.
now, eh?
Trebek doesn't.
You've had
Trebek
your 2
doesn't
minutes.
apologize when people get questions wrong. I'm turning his Canadian card in.
He sits there. He
Stop.
actually.
Stop,
You're
Crumb,
so
you've had your 2 minutes. You've had your 2 minutes.
I have my 2 minutes.
Nick, why I invited you on the show is we have a mutual friend named Mr. Mike Boudet. He has a show called Sword and Scale. Check him out.
Yeah.
I was listening to his podcast, and one of the shows he had was the William Hurt case. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
No.
He was a guy that was railed by the police into giving a false confession for a murder he didn't commit. And it brought up a technique called the Reid Technique. I wanted to pick your brain on it and see what you think of this technique itself and how it's used. And as a lawyer, how would you advise against clients using it? It's been removed from, excuse me, hiccups. One moment.
Your time is up, Phoenix.
Thank
Please
you.
move on to the next.
It's been removed from interrogation these days. It's considered inadmissible in court. But I was listening to it and I thought this would be a good show to ask Nick
Sure.
and get his
Yeah,
thoughts
is
on.
that a technique that police use, or is that like a
It's
is it
interrogation. It's interrogation. Sorry, can't English today.
interrogation technique?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah,
And actually, it's a good idea we get Jennings in because it's a psychologist that brought it up. That's
Yeah.
been used.
yeah, it sounds like a police interrogation technique.
It is, and it's I'm not going to claim to be an expert on it or anything like that, but I was reading up on the technique, and yeah, this type of interrogation has a propensity for giving false confessions. Lots of the power of a confession is something that can't be understated. There was a Frontline story a while back. I don't remember when. But basically, 4 men were convicted of raping the same woman at the same time. Okay, raping and murdering her. Now, she wasn't there to testify that it wasn't.
Sorry, I thought she wasn't there. Wait a minute.
Well, no, I'm getting to that.
All right, gotcha.
She was raped and murdered. Okay. That occurred, and 4 men were convicted of this crime. And it started. They arrested one guy. And they ended up doing, I believe they used the Reid technique. If not, they used something very similar. And the cop who did it, his name was Bull something, which you can, so he's complete asshole automatically. But he was eventually charged and convicted of using these sort of intimidating techniques to do some shady stuff and get people false convictions. These 4 guys all ended up confessing to the crime. But what you have to understand is these guys were sitting in an interrogation room with a hard-ass cop. And all of these guys were below average IQ, which is, I mean, go to Walmart, ask them where to find molasses, see if they can point you there, and realize that these guys are below that. That's They're
Cinnamon hearts. There you
Right.
go. Ask your local Walmart employee what cinnamon hearts.
and so they got these guys, and they would just drill them for 9, 10, 11, 12 hours until they confessed. They wouldn't let them out of the room. These guys didn't know enough to ask for a lawyer, to ask for, to assert their right to remain silent or anything like that, or to just sit there and shut up. Because when someone keeps saying your name over and over, for example, for an hour, just says Crumb, Crumb, Crumbrion, Crumb, Crumb. And they'll do this for like an hour until you say, oh my God, just ask the fucking question, right? So then they've suddenly got permission to continue an interrogation. So they did this to these 4 guys. All of them are convicted. Later, a guy unrelated to anything gets convicted on a different charge, and in prison writes a letter about how he raped and killed this white woman that these guys are accused of killing.
Damn.
There was no DNA from any of the guys. One of the guys was in the Navy and on a boat. He wasn't even there.
Guilty.
He wasn't even on land when
We already know about mind rape. That
Right.
already came up before. So
Guilty.
it's there was nothing tying any of these guys there, but they confessed. And then when this stuff was brought back up on retrials and stuff like that, they just played the confession. And the jury's like, yeah, guilty. And I think 2 or 3 of the guys are still in prison, and they didn't do, there's no way they did it. Plus, the story's ludicrous. First, it starts off that this guy goes in, and they're doing stuff like they're giving him information about the crime, leading up to it. But the guy goes in, and then suddenly he's using a knife to threaten her and do all this stuff. But then, the story backs out because they found another guy. He ends up just mentioning someone by name, and that guy gets pulled in. And so this other guy, then they were talking outside, and another guy was walking by, and they're like, hey, you want in on this rape? And he's like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. Let's go. Who's the target? This is how ludicrous their story actually was that there's just a gaggle of unintelligent rapists hanging around, and another guy walked by and they just pulled him in. They're like, let's make it a party. And that is the story they were convicted on because of the confession. If you didn't have a confession, and in this case, coerced confessions from these guys, there's no way you could secure a conviction, because every jury would be like, bro, people don't act like that. You walk up to 2 people you've never met, and they're like, hey, want to get on this? And you're like, I was looking for a raping.
I can't fact check this, but I think what Mike said in his show was a lot of the times cops do it to close cases that can't get done till they meet a quota.
Yeah. Well, there are closing rates. There are different things for cops. If you watch The Wire, you can get a good example of this. Homicide cases, they have a closing rate. And so it's really awkward, but they don't really care how many murders they are. They care what percentage of them they can solve. And just like any other business, you have to measure metrics somehow. Unfortunately, with crime, especially complicated crimes like murder and violent assaults and stuff like that have a lot of things that go into it, it doesn't fit well into a statistical matrix on what you're going to be able to solve, whether or not you can find evidence, or whether or not the person who did the crime got killed later. Whether any of these things can line up is completely up to chance, but they still have to measure performance metrics somehow. And police often do that with conviction rates. And you see it in FBI statistics. It's reported crime versus solved crimes, and that's how we decide how well our police departments are doing, and how we need to fund them and or defund them, or whatever it may be. And so it's very possible that is the way to do it. But the Reid technique, to talk about it a little bit, is basically a technique that you use when you believe you have the guilty party. And so you structure your interrogation to elicit the responses that will imply guilt. And this is why you never talk to cops. You just don't do it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I sent Crumb on Discord the steps of the technique. If you could kindly bring that up.
Let me see if I can get it here.
Sorry, Nick.
No, you're fine. What I was saying was a lot of people who are brought in to a police office or, police station for questioning don't realize for whatever reason that they're actually the target of or that, the police believe they're guilty of something. Or they think, I had some clients like this who believed the police were looking for something else. So they're just like, la, 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 about this other crime. Why would it's, they're like, they're talking about all like the weed they were smoking or whatever. And the cops are like, just writing it down.
Oh, really?
And, and they're like, okay, you're under arrest. And they're like, wait, I thought you were looking for meth though. But it's like, they're looking for anything. But no, this is why you definitely don't want to talk to police. But that's a complicated subject too, that I think I was thinking through like how we were going to address this as we talked about it. And so I do want to talk about that going forward. But do we want to look at the steps here since you've got them pulled up on screen?
Yeah. So it's a positive confrontation is the first step here. So advise the suspect that the evidence has led the police to the individual as a suspect. Offer the person an early opportunity to explain why the offense took place.
And
it's kind of sleepy.
Oh yeah. So first and most important thing, it is very illegal for you to lie to the police. It is very legal and expected that the police lie to you.
Oh,
you should expect that if a police officer, especially in an interrogation or a questioning, a friendly conversation at the station, even if you voluntarily show up, you should expect that they are lying to you about something, because it is legal. It is part of the strategy to not show their cards or to imply that they have more information than they do have. Because if you can just say the thing without them having to prove it, then they get to skip that step. So yeah, it's and the other part of this is playing into the psychology of everybody, especially when confronted with authority. Everyone wants to tell their story and tell why they're definitely not guilty of the thing.
Well,
go ahead.
A funny part about that is it's like, just looking at this briefly, it reminds me of techniques that we were told to use in management when I used to work at a call center. Like this is stuff that we were told. It's like when you're addressing like accusations or allegations from people. This is like this type of stuff. It's like you'd have to let them know that they were brought up like in a certain way, obviously not say by who, and then give them a chance to explain themselves, almost like entrap them in it.
Yeah.
Because like the same thing, like try to shift the blame. This is number 2. Try to shift the blame away from the suspect to some other person or set of circumstances that prompted the suspect to commit the crime. And that is develop themes containing reasons that psychology will justify to excuse the crime. Themes may be used to develop or change to find the one the accused is most responsive to.
Right. Again, this goes to that thing that everyone wants to tell their story. And here's the crazy part. You can do a lot of stuff that doesn't involve killing someone. That sounds like you did kill someone. Or led up to, that would have led up to the killing of someone, even though you didn't do it. You can put yourself in the same place as them. You can have followed them through some traffic lights. You could have talked to them and had an argument earlier that day. Any one of those things on their own doesn't necessarily mean you killed them, but you put those 3 things in order, and suddenly the cops have a story that they can work with that involves you being the person of interest. And so it's really important to remember that police ostensibly want to solve crimes. They do, but their job isn't to solve the crime. Their job is to find someone guilty of the crime. That's 2 different things. That doesn't mean that they find the right person guilty of the crime. It's finding enough to secure a conviction. And then, because to them, and I always try and frame this because it sounds like such a dick thing to say about cops. to them, they have the guy, right? They don't know that you didn't kill him. What they know is that you had a fight, you followed him through a couple stoplights, and you were the last person they know of that saw them somewhere near the place that they died. Well, that looks like you did it. Maybe you just got out and said, hey, you racist, and got back in your car and ran away and got McDonald's, and someone else walked up and stabbed them. That happens.
That does happen.
And so, but to them, they're not, the objective truth isn't something they'll ever know, so they don't even know to look for it. They know to build enough of a case to secure a conviction. And that means that if they can use this type of information to get facts from your story that can build a case against you, you're guilty to them.
Well, and we have someone who's just joined that can give us a little bit more insight into that. Mr. Non-Ken Jennings.
Welcome to Law and Order.
I think we've lost Ken already.
No, you didn't.
His mic is so good that it wasn't even playing sound.
You're impressed. It's okay.
Here we go. Welcome, Ken, to this.
Mr. Jennings, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I know you've been backstage just for a couple minutes here. Did you have any input on the first two steps here?
Well, first,
Mr.
let me
Kenny,
thank
you
the
only have 2
rookies
minutes.
in the backstage. They've been fantastic the whole time I've been back here.
Excellent.
Thank you
We've
for
trained
the-
them and give them. You're welcome.
don't
I
know
hope you
what
enjoy the
you're
free
paying them or Where
champagne.
you get them from town, but they're great.
Highest quality in Olympus.
Highest quality.
The best that Canadian Tire money could possibly purchase.
They're the best.
The very best.
Better than Joe Biden's, right? So,
Yes.
I missed part of what Nick was saying. I caught like the end of it. So, what was the topic we were on?
We're on the 9 steps of the Reid Technique interrogation. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
We covered number 1 and 2. If you want,
Okay.
they're on screen. You can just glance at them real quick.
Yeah, let me read over them real quick if you guys want to continue.
Yeah.
Let's
Sure.
all stare at Ken while he reads.
Let's all
Yes,
stare at
My
Ken.
half male face.
Again, people
And
can
their awkwardness. We can hear you reading, Ken.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ken.
I can.
Can you turn Ken up a little bit? He is kind of quiet.
That's my fault. Give me a second.
Oh, okay.
Ken grows
I had to
microphones
actually
from
resolder
potatoes.
part of the board to get it working because I paid $10 for it on eBay.
And that's just for the soldering.
No, the actual interface is normally like $100 interface I got for $10, but I had to resolder a USB port onto it. But it was worth it.
It makes sense. Everything makes sense now.
Plus,
Yes,
I'm cheap as fuck. So
There you go. $10 for soldering wire?
no, I had the
Pull on the
soldering wire.
wall.
I just had to buy the USB port and the.
I was going to say,
And the
pull it on the
interface
walls.
itself.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, yeah, too. That too.
How much did the USB port cost?
I had to buy like a pack of 10. They were the USB Bs to USB As. It was like 10 of them for like $4 or $5. So I think I'm under
Okay, so-
$20 total on the whole thing.
$20 plus how many hours did you spend soldering?
Well, because I didn't have my solder sucker went missing and I didn't have any desoldering wick, so I had to dick around with it for like an hour and a half and get frustrated. I didn't damage the board at all, thankfully. I don't know how.
that's amazing.
I don't know how because I'm not. They taught soldering in my tech school in the Air Force, but I hadn't really done it much since then. But it was fun to not totally blow $100 thing apart that I only spent $10 on because I couldn't find another one that cheap.
See, I would have just bought the $100 one.
Yeah,
Ken's
I
lying.
heard you
Bought it,
running with a Scarlett 2i2 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He bought his microphone off Wish.
Listen, I have a Behringer XM8500, which is one of the best $20 microphones out there.
Mr. Jennings, $2. And it wasn't even, I didn't even spend $2. It was
Most of my audio problems aren't with my mic or my interface. It's my DSP processing I have. It's the VSTs and all my signal processing I do to help make my audio sound a little bit better because I've got parrots and stuff. So if I don't put filters and shit in the back, you'll hear them.
Well, for what it's worth, you certainly sound better for today.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hop, I'm going to have to hand you the reins. I just heard someone knock on the door, so I'm going to be right back.
No problem.
That's totally
Crumb's
not
getting
me.
swatted.
I'm getting swatted.
We
I
do
did that
not
one.
have swatting here in Canada. We have wellness checks.
Wait,
You're
so Crumb's getting
All right.
mounted then, right?
No, they're
That's
not
one way to put it.
Mounties.
That's one way you could
Regular
put it.
police. So, where were we with things? Oh, yes, we're talking about this wonderful deposition, which we're talking 2 points out of 9. Should we continue when Crumb is away, or should we just talk about whateverness? I got an idea. Let's take a bit of a break here. Let's talk about how's life after Kitchener Comic-Con.
I do have a question for Nick, though.
I asked the first question first.
You
Phoenix.
got your 2 minutes.
Calm down, children.
All right, fine.
Susan.
So,
You
Nick,
went
how
first,
you
Phoenix?
see in these shows like Law and Order, you see the police saying there's a guy in the other room, he's ratting you out. How is this a thing, or is this TV magic?
No, that's the thing. Yeah, do that.
Oh, they totally do that.
Yeah, it's great. It's a good plan. Again, everybody should watch The Wire. You honestly can't say it enough. At least the first season, but really all of them. The guy who wrote it is a complete cuck. However, he also wrote for the crime desk for the Baltimore Sun or whatever, for like 25 years. He knows all of the cops. He's seen this stuff. He's reported on it forever. And he writes the scenes very competently. And there's a great one where they brought in 2 guys and they wanted to turn them against each other because they had the same story and they needed it to be different. So they told the one guy that the other guy had already cooperated, and they bought him like his favorite, McDonald's or whatever. They got him food and he was just chilling. And so they handed him McDonald's and like had him walk by the door. And the guy's like, what the fuck is this? But the other guy just saw him walk by the door holding the McDonald's. And so they, then he's like, oh, let me tell you what that guy did. And they, but no, they absolutely will do stuff like, yeah, again, they can lie to you. It's fine. They don't have to tell you the truth. And so they can certainly say, yeah, we've got, you should hear what we've got from this other person. If they think it's worth it, that's a gamble for them.
Could that work towards perjury, though? If they're telling you they snitched when they didn't, and you get a confession out of them, could that?
No, because they're not under oath. The cops aren't under oath.
Yep.
They can't. What they can't do is create a faulty, like a fake document. They can't they can't make something, sign it as someone else, and represent it to you as a confession. They can't do that, but they can represent that they have a confession. They can imply it. They could say we're just getting him to sign it, all this stuff, or he's been working on his confession. Man, you should hear what he says about you. They can do all of that. They can do basically anything. They're not under oath when interrogating you. So there is no perjury for them.
And the best part, they could come up and say, he's saying all these things about you. We're going to give you a chance for you to tell your side of the story. And remember what your other friend's saying about you. Sorry.
All right, Ken, have you caught up on number 1 and 2 yet?
Yes. Let me go back to. Sorry, I was adjusting something. Okay, yeah. So number 2. Let's see.
So what if
Sorry.
the cops are on trial and they're under oath?
I think it's different than an interrogation, though.
Yeah.
They're in a courtroom, then they're subjugated to what they're swearing to at that point in time. But the interrogation itself, they're not in any Miranda rights. You are.
Let me give the hot take. Cops lie under oath too.
Yeah.
Cops
There you
never
go.
lie. What are you talking about?
You're right. You're right, Ken. No, they do. It's unfortunate. I think it just becomes part of the job. And again, like I say this stuff and it sounds really malicious. It's not meant to be malicious. When I say they lie, and maybe Ken can talk about this a little bit, but they can adjust memories. They can adjust things that they heard. They can adjust things that they say that they heard you say, that they wrote down. Like a cop writes down some notes about something and then they come up with a quote later that's maybe not quite accurate. It's stuff like that. And a lot of it in outside of the context of a courtroom would be a harmless lie, for the most part. But in the context of a courtroom and when they're under oath, it should be worse. But you got to be able to prove it to overcome it, and that's or cast doubt on their overall credibility, which is really, really hard to do when they're wearing a uniform and a badge in a courtroom.
Nick, quick question for you. Do you know what the full Miranda rights are? And can you quote it verbatim?
That's not a thing. Like there isn't that the thing that you hear on all of the news or the TV shows or whatever isn't actually your Miranda rights. They're not like clearly defined and delineated that way. So they just have to give you a basic understanding of your right to remain silent, not self-incriminate, and a right to an attorney. And that's about it.
And the thing is that the last part is the most important part, isn't it? Your right to an attorney. If someone tells you that, get a fucking attorney. Because they don't need an attorney. You need an attorney.
The amount of times I have told people in the past week to talk to a fucking lawyer is just astronomical.
Yeah, it's that is one of the more important things. The other hard thing, and the thing they don't tell you when they Mirandize you is they don't tell you that you have to affirmatively assert those rights. Like they say you have the right to remain silent. You can just sit there and be quiet, but you're not actually asserting your right to remain silent. So they can keep talking to you and asking you questions. When you say, theoretically, I am asserting my right to remain silent and I will answer no more questions, that they're supposed to stop asking you questions at that point. That is the affirmative assertion of your rights. Now they have other things that they can do, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that go along with that to get you to rescind your right to remain silent.
Yep.
And the second you speak,
it's making you talk.
Yeah, the second you speak, it does go away. Like you don't get to go, I have my right to remain silent, and then be like, no, fam, I didn't do that. That you've waived your right to remain silent.
So basically, they say you have the right to shut the fuck up, and you have the right to get a lawyer. But a lot of people say, you know what, bro, I can handle this. It's like, no, you can't.
Yeah, don't do that.
I'd be like such an asshole as a cop if they did that. It's like, all right, well, I guess you can't. Like, you can't speak up if you want this like $10,000 then.
$10,000.
One of the common things that they'll do is they can't ask you questions. They can still talk. They can still talk to you. They can still talk to each other. And so what a kind of a common technique is, they'll get you to, someone will say, I'm not answering any more questions. I'm asserting my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer, all that stuff. They do everything right. So then they'll have two cops and they'll sit and talk to each other about the thing. And they'll deliberately say stuff that's not correct or whatever, because they want to elicit a response from the person. So long as they're not asking them questions about it, that's all legal. And it's, again, this sounds goofy because it's like, well, why wouldn't you just be quiet? These people are under stress. They're under pressure. They're in trouble. They're not free to go. And oftentimes they are in this situation for hours on end, with no support, no lifeline, nobody to bounce an idea off of or something. So, you're sitting there for 4 hours trying to be absolutely quiet and not respond to a cop. That's a hard thing to do. Now make it 8 hours. Now make it 12. It's
that's rough.
And if you're a terrorist, they can hold you forever and ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what if I assert my right to a lawyer dog, or my right to a lawyer dog?
Listen, in the state of Louisiana, you don't have a right to a lawyer dog.
That's bullshit.
That is one of the most offensive rulings I've ever seen.
That is the racist ruling I've ever heard.
Yeah, that was.
How fucking dare they?
What's a lawyer dog? I'll ask.
A guy said, I want to talk to my lawyer dog. Like that.
Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
And the Supreme Court of Louisiana came back and upheld his conviction and said, no, he asked for a lawyer dog, a lawyer canine.
Yeah.
And those aren't real. So they
called bloodhound.
that was a horrifically racist decision, but I think it was a product of something that is a trouble for courts, in that a lot of times, and this is true, the person in front of them is guilty. Yeah. Especially when you're arguing that you should be let off because your Sixth Amendment right to an attorney at your interrogation was denied. Usually what happened is everything else stacked up and that person got convicted, right? So they're trying to now get off on a technicality. If you have a massive drug dealer or a murderer sitting in front of you, for example, and you know they're guilty, you've gone through everything, but some minor right was, well, it's not a minor right, some major right was violated in a minor way, that even without this, we still know they're guilty. However, this right was violated. Now they have to walk. That is a really tough place for a judge to go, you know what, though? I get that you axe murdered someone,
Put him in a
but
wood
the magic words weren't said, for this 15-minute period over the past 2 years of trial and all this stuff. So since that 15-minute period occurred and the magic words weren't said there, that axe murder you did doesn't count. You get a dub. That's a hard thing. I
think I still think it's pretty rough to say that dogs aren't lawyers. I mean, we have a walking penis that just passed the Texas bar, so I think.
Well, we also have Kev the lawyer.
Kev
the lawyer. Kev.
We also have
Landau. Kevin Landau, the dog bite attorney's arch nemesis, Kev the lawyer, who's a lawyer dog.
I was about to ask if you.
Let's not forget Lemon.
Landau specifically, would he be considered a lawyer dog?
I think he would.
Okay.
I think he would.
Well, cats. There should be a lawyer cat, shouldn't there?
Yeah, but they wouldn't.
Pause down.
They wouldn't do anything. Those are called hanging judges.
Oh my goodness. All right, so where did we leave off on the 9 steps here?
We're on number 3.
Number 3. Yeah. So, try to minimize the frequency of suspect denials. That's such a weird.
Ken, why do you think that is?
Repeat it again. My screen's too. I'm on a laptop, so I have to blow up my screen to see. Minimize frequency of suspect denial.
Just solder it.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I've got it powering up right now.
Fix on the fly.
Keep magnifying glasses to your face. It's
no, I had laser eye surgery for that purpose.
Try to minimize.
How'd your LASIK go, Ken?
I actually didn't have LASIK. I had PRK, which is a little different.
The People's Republic of Korea. Okay.
Yes, I love them so much.
It's got to save cost somehow.
Good on human rights. But it works differently. Instead of cutting the cornea and flapping it back to do the lasering, they actually use what looks like effectively an electric toothbrush to scrub off your cornea. And then they put a Band-Aid contact on it, and then it grows back.
That's what I had.
God.
I'm at like 2015 in one eye, 2020 in the other eye.
Yeah, me too. Same thing. They like swab off your skin. And did they take the little like eyeball squeegee thing on yours?
All I remember is smelling my burning flesh with the laser.
Oh, ew!
It was, you were in and out in 5 minutes. It was literally that quick.
Did they do the cold rinse on you?
I don't remember.
Oh my God, you would.
I honestly don't. Because I walked back and I was like, this is going to take, a little bit. And I walked back there and I'm back there for 5. I was at the Naval Air Station getting mine done because they didn't do it at my local base.
Oh, sure.
And I was there and went and did it. And I was out in 5 minutes. And then I had to wear those goofy ass glasses for like a week or a couple days or whatever it was.
Ken, did you smell burnt toast afterwards?
I did not have a stroke.
No, you smell burnt skin is what you smell. It's kind of gross.
It's burnt eyeball.
Yeah, after they did the cooking thing on the eye, Louis.
Oh my God.
And after they do that, which you don't feel, you've got Valium and numbing eye drops, is great. But then they spray, at least at ours, they spray this rinse, I guess, to cool the surface of the eye back down or something maybe. And it is the coldest liquid I've experienced in my entire life. You get an instant freezing headache.
I
Like,
remember
Oh
that.
wow.
oh God, that was the worst part, because they're like, all right, we're done with one eye. I'm like, no, you motherfuckers.
Remember, mine was done by the military, so they probably saved money by not doing that.
Right? Yeah, they're just like, nah, you can keep cooking.
You'll be
It's
fine.
You're fine. Just take a cab home.
I had, during the healing process, my eyes, when I woke up one day, like the skin on the eye had healed and attached to the inside of my eyelid. And so I opened my eye and it tore the cornea a little bit.
Oh Jesus, fuck.
It was one of the most painful things. That was the first time I had cried in like 15 years. It was awful.
See,
Awful.
I didn't have that happen, but I had the 1 in a million thing go wrong during my surgery.
What's that?
Of course.
So what happened is we found this out later, is I put the wrong size contact in for the bandage contact.
Okay.
So it was on too tight, so there wasn't enough airflow to promote rehealing of my cornea. So I had a hole in my cornea that was about a third to the half size of my cornea. And when they would dye it to check, you could see this giant asshole in my cornea. And it freaked the fuck out of my wife every time we went to get it checked. Because it was like a week. I had to drive 3 hours one way to go get it checked. 3 times in 1 week. It was a pain in the ass.
But just healed up though.
Oh goodness.
It healed up, and there was no problem. Didn't affect my vision. It was just that one-off thing that happened. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Lord.
Okay, so what do you think about number 3 here? Try to minimize the frequency of suspect denials.
So like from the interrogators, so try to get from like the court perspective to try and get them to not. I'd say it probably looks from the interrogating officer's perspective is you don't want them to be denying it too much before you get in the flip. Especially if you do get in the flip, because then it would probably look bad against you. Because then if
Yeah, go ahead.
you know, because if I'm going at you for hours and you're constantly denying it, and then I bring out something out of nowhere and you suddenly flipped, I'm going to be suspicious of that.
Sure. I just think it's a sales technique.
That too.
You want your customer saying yes as much as possible to everything.
Yeah, don't give them a chance to say no. Yeah.
I want the extended warranty.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, please give me more.
You're guilty of murder.
Can I get a square trade warranty for my interrogation?
Yeah.
On Amazon.
But the amount of like sales psychology that existed back when there was commission sales everywhere was crazy.
Oh.
I did it at Circuit City, and they're like they had printed warranty information sheets. They're just dense text, right? And then no one reads them. But what they wanted you to do is get them in the hands of the person, because then their arms weren't folded. Like it was.
Oh Jesus, wow. That's
Because
actually
if their
really
arms
smart.
are folded,
Yeah.
they're gonna, like, it's a 90% no or something. The second you get this, your chances of getting a sale go up like 35% right there.
Because their body language is more open versus closed.
right.
That's fucking genius.
Well, it
Jesus.
plays on both sides of it too. You as a salesman now have you've made an edge in. You've got them to at least take something from you versus them standing there like, why the fuck are you wasting my time?
And on top of that, you gave them something the customer wants, which is what's this warranty all about? They said, here you go, ma'am, sir,
And they're not gonna
person.
fucking read that.
But a lot of
I
people
read
don't say
mine
that.
barely.
Yeah, but people don't say that at the point of delivery. They kind of go, oh, okay, they try to read it over. And meanwhile, you start whispering sweet nothings in the air, going, it only costs $35 more.
Well, and speaking of like sales techniques, like this next point here really reeks of it. At number 4, it says, at this point, the accused will often give a reason why he or she did not commit the crime. Try to use this to move towards the acknowledgement that they did, or what they did.
No, of what they did. That's the trick. Because it's not about getting them to admit to a crime. They're not gonna. A lot of people are at least smart enough to not do that, and it isn't the cop.
Or
like
something lesser.
If they can get a confession, that's great. If they can get a bunch of statements that lead them to the conclusion that a crime was committed, that is also great.
Yeah.
And so talk about what you did do, not whether or not you took the tire iron and caved their skull in. We'll get to that later. You changed your tire 10 minutes before, though. You did do that, right? So you were torquing on the nuts earlier. And I don't mean
to tire iron.
I was working on what?
Yeah.
Well, everybody out there, take notes, because like when you're going to play Nick in Among Us, he's going to use this against you. Just
you have the right to remain silent and the right to a lawyer.
it's like, look,
Actually,
you might have been in medical and the body might have been in lights, but come on, like really.
I just scream at those cowardly liars. That's how I play Among Us.
Oh my goodness. So that one's interesting. That reeks of like salesman to me. It's like, well, you might not want this product, but what about this other thing that's like a lesser price for you? It's like trying to sell them on something that they don't need, but the more expensive thing first, and then dropping the price down.
One thing to note about this as well, we didn't cover this on stream, but the steps of interrogation, these 9 steps, this is actually the 3rd part of the interrogation. They don't open with this. If you go up in the article, it's a 3-phase process. The first one is fact analysis, and then a behavior analysis interview. So what they do is they go through the facts and that they have, and then they do a behavioral analysis interview. So at that interview, they're actually learning about the person. They're probably building rapport with them. This is going to look like a sale, like a real sale, not like you're going in and buying a cell phone, like you're buying investment property, like you're buying your home. This person is going to build a relationship that's predicated on trust and authority combined with the person. And that behavioral analysis is likely going to be them probing and prodding the limits of that relationship and how receptive they are to the authority approach, how receptive they are to the friendly approach. They're going to be doing that. And so when they're doing these 9 interrogation steps, they're incorporating in pre-existing knowledge and a profile of this person. And one thing to remember with cops is they do this, especially a detective, they do this all the time. They do it all the time. This is their job. They've done hundreds of interviews like this per year, and they get really good at figuring out what makes people tick, what they're receptive to, and what they're not receptive to. Because they spent hundreds, even thousands of hours doing it each year, and you have not probably ever done it. You are bad at it. They're very good. So that's again why you need a lawyer, because you need that ally there to balance out the amount of skill that's being put against your complete lack of it.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that.
I have
And
a
like,
hypothetical for you.
yeah,
Nick.
go for it.
So we know the assumption that lawyers can, or not lawyers, but cops can lie, detectives can lie during the investigation, during the interrogation. How would you propose it to work if they couldn't? Like, how would you do a successful investigation and not get really any clearance?
Don't know. I don't know. Like I said,
it's a conundrum.
It is a conundrum. The hard part is, the difference between an out and out lie or falsehood, and I do find those to be rather despicable, versus just a logical leap, right? Like I have this and this, and I can't get to here, but I can guess to here, and that might be wrong. And that's how a lot of those kind of work out. Is it's not like an overt lie, and a lot of times they've got all the other stuff, and they're filling in gaps. And what they need to do is they need to roll the dice and see if they can get this 1 or 2 pieces of critical info that will solidify the case. And you got to remember, like, cops are very good at their jobs, detectives especially. Even when they appear incompetent, they're actually quite good. And so what when they've got the person in there for this type of interrogation especially, they're really close to figuring out that this person did it. And there could always be that thing that means they didn't, but a lot of times, there's a reason that they're in the room.
Well, And isn't it like ideally the situation? It's like they get them in, and then the court figures it out, kind of thing. Ideally, I mean, obviously, if you get a confession that kind of skews the results of it, you don't have that cross examination that's supposed to go on. But like that's the ideal of like law, and then the court system, right? You get the police that say, well, we're pretty darn sure this person did it, and then bring it to the court for the judge to ultimately decide on. But it doesn't necessarily go that way all the time.
Right. And the problems that factor into it is ideally you would get a fact story from the defendant, and you would get a fact story from the prosecution that would involve the police or whatever. And this is how it works in civil court, right? Each side gives their fact stories, and then the judge or the jury are finders of fact. They determine which facts are actually correct or most true. And then they put together that, and they say, okay, here are the facts that we see. Because of these facts, we come to this legal conclusion, and that's it. It's just applying facts to law once you figure those facts out. The problem with the way that this works out is there's a heavy bias towards authority. There's a heavy bias towards the credibility of police, and that is not corrupt inherently, but it's corruptible. And it's why we weight the system differently in you versus the state rather than you versus some random person in a civil suit. But it's still the cop story is going to be believed by just about everybody almost every time.
Yeah, that's
tough.
And that's such an interesting thing, because I know a bit of a personal story. Like Mr. Hop and I had a landlord that he got some notoriety. People look him up, but he was a Peel police officer. So he was an officer in Toronto that got he actually got convicted. I'm not sure what the crime was, but he actually got convicted because there was a CFL player, like a Canadian Football League player, that was arrested and charged with illegal, like possession of illegal drugs, because he had like ridiculous amounts of cocaine, like more than any normal person should have.
And also, what nationality was he?
Well, he was black, obviously.
There you go.
I thought it was Rob Ford you were talking about.
Oh, no. That's the other one that happened a few weeks later.
Yeah.
So it wasn't Aaron Hernandez, right?
Sorry?
It wasn't Aaron Hernandez, was it?
No, that's the Patriots player.
That's Patriots.
No, that wasn't him.
This is the CFL.
The CFL. It was football light.
Yes.
But so there was a Canadian football player that was charged with having a whole bunch of cocaine that he really shouldn't have, and then apparently some of the cocaine went missing conveniently. And one of the police officers was accused of I guess either taking it and or planting evidence on the scene. And that was a big oops, and that took a long time to finally get to court. I think it took like 6 or 7 years to get to court, and then another 3 years to get a conviction. Yeah. And then he was sentenced to, I think, 7 years, and he only spent 2 in jail.
And that's the cop. Yeah,
So,
he got out in good behavior and then became our landlord.
No, he was in jail while he was our landlord. Which is
I'm sorry, I forgot about that crucial fact.
It's so curious that there's like that deference to police officers even when they are in the wrong. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting.
Yep. It's the uniform and it's and I don't know if Ken has any insight into this, but to me it's the psychology of the horror of police not being a good guy, right?
Yeah.
I think that plays into, if that cop's lying, everything's a lie, and so therefore I have to at least hope he's telling the truth.
I think that plays a part of it. You don't want to think that you're naturally going to defer to the kind of moral right, kind of what you expect. You expect things to kind of play naturally, and to question authority, to question the day to day. That starts getting into. You could start getting into conspiracies and other things like that. And people will see people do that, and so I'm not going to do that. I kind of think most of the people think that most cops are good. most people think most this are good or most things like this are good. It's very difficult to question those things that are so ingrained into our society and so ingrained into who we are, especially in the United States.
Well,
especially
it's
in Western, nations like Europe and Canada and other places like that.
it's really easy to kind of just fall into that convenience of just saying, well, all cops are great people, or all cops are bad people. It's just like there are bad people in every situation, right? And I've been hammering away at this, and I know there's a there's a person in the chat right now that saw a bit of a heated discussion that I had earlier with some people about some things. But basically, when you come down to it, it's the ideology, and we've kind of got really complacent with people in authority, in terms of government, in terms of like what have you. Like, I don't envy anybody in the United States having to pick between the parties and the candidates for the presidential election, because I think, like, in my opinion, as a Canadian, because like I'm seeing Canadian politics play out in the United States right now. We always have situations where we have multiple parties to choose from, and we kind of have that option to, like, all right, well, if we don't like red or blue or orange, then we can kind of make sure that red gets a little bit of power and blue gets the other bit of power, and so no one really has full control. Like, Americans don't really have that choice, so you guys are just stuck with a tough choice right now. But a lot of it, like, it comes down to Canadian politics and American politics. All of this stuff comes from local, from like your mayors, from your governors, from your congressmen, from your senators, and people need to pay attention to this stuff, because we've let this slide so much. We've let it slide with police. We've let it slide with local politicians, and it is showing the fruits of that right now, in my opinion. You just have people who don't deserve to be in these positions, and making us fools for putting them there.
Yeah, well, you know what else came from local? The doctrine of prima nocta. So I don't trust it at all.
I've got to ask, since we brought up politics, and I tried getting Nick to do this, but I don't think it was in the middle of the Vic stuff. Our glorious Prime Minister, Mr. Trudeau, has been
Prime Minister Trudeau. Thank you.
It's been convicted of anything yet, but he has 3 ethics violations against him. One was for embezzling, for helping a company who embezzled funds. Another one was a charity scandal. He had somebody from his family on the committee and was paying him. And I can't remember what the second one was. I know the first one's Lavalon. First was a weed charity.
He was accepting. I think it was like quoted as he was accepting bribes from foreign nationals.
What's a bribe among friends?
Exactly. It's not really a bribe. It's a gift. It's like a Christmas or birthday gift.
He was getting flown down to Cuba by Castro's son or something.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Wait, no, that's just him buying his own ticket.
That's right. Someone had an extra ticket floating around. They went, "Here you go, Prime Minister Trudeau. You could have this." Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Look, all the gifts that Trump got. Free mattresses, stuff like that. It's great.
Castro flies him down, and he's like, "You can watch me bang a woman like your dad did."
Perfect.
There's also the fact that he went to India and he showed up in the garb, making an ass out of us. And he had, from my side of the Canada.
But that was so long ago. That's all pre-Cobalt.
I mean,
19.
he also did blackface too back in college.
He did it twice. Come on, peoples. That's water under the bridge. The question is the newer stuff he's going to get involved with. No, that's going to be fun to watch.
There's a guy that was who's almost convicted of attempted assassination of one of our premiers here. He ended up being on the VIP list for Justin Trudeau's one of Justin Trudeau's parties while he was in India. Mm-hmm. Security cleared him while he was. I think he fled or something, but he got away with attempted murder while in Vancouver.
Well, it's attempt of murder. It's not really murder, so he's fine.
I mean, I just subscribe to the fact that all politicians are bad.
Yes.
At this point, we've gotten so far away from what governments were supposed to be for the people, and
continue. Sorry.
And I think we're going to see, partially in the States first, we're going to see the pushback what because governments haven't been listening to their populace, and I think we're going to see pushback there, and that could leak out into I would say Canada and Britain as well, because I mean I don't know what's going on over in the UK, but there's some shit going on.
There's some heavy stuff going on. Matter of fact, one of the things the UK is definitely doing, even as we speak, they're adopting. You have to have your wellness papers to travel on the airplanes and the trains and the boats and stuff like that. And this is new legislation that's being put in place yesterday. So the thing is, if that's successful and everything, you can bet it's coming to North American shores, both Canadian and US, sometime soon. Because don't forget, Bill Gates himself is basically inventing a vaccine that when you get into your system, it glows in the dark. That's working.
Oh, good. We'll all be literal glow in the darks.
Exactly. Plus, on top of something like that, to the politician aspect. Phoenix, have you forgot about Emperor Stephen? Have you forgotten about him?
Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, exactly. And basically how he was actually decoding our Bill of Rights. Like, people have really forgotten about that, especially Bill C-31, which basically was pretty much going to nullify any rights that we have as Canadians. So the way I look at it, if Trudeau's not doing that, I think he's ahead of the game of Emperor Harper, if you know what I mean. Well, and on top of that, if you want to go back to other prime ministers, there's always what's his name, Chrétien, which is golfing.
Chrétien was amazing. He smirched the name of that great man who literally choked his potential assassinator out on the front
The
porch.
Mounties were there for the people to protect them from the prime minister. That is awesome.
That's how it should be.
I got to be the moderator here and get us back on track. We're number 4.
All right, Susan.
We ran number 5 already, though.
We're number 5.
Ma'am, thank you.
Whiskey's been derailing us. Reinforce sincerity to ensure that the suspect is receptive. Well, that's simple. That's a simple interrogation technique or in interview technique.
Basic method of therapy, basically.
I mean, we did that with Toye for God's sake.
That's effectively unconditional positive regard.
Yeah.
I think you guys are reading this wrong. Grab him by the shirt collar, pull him up, and say, "You think I'm not fucking serious?"
And you got the good cop going, Nicholas, calm down. Calm down. Everything's fine. Nick, go for a walk. I'll talk to him for a bit.
The Brooklyn interrogation.
Just do the entire interrogation in Kermit the Frog voice.
Oh my God, that alone, I think, would get people to.
Nick, please can you do that?
Oh my God.
Listen here, buddy. If you don't start talking, I'm going to shove this green fist right up your asshole.
Turn you into a Muppet.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness.
Oh wow. So what's
number 6?
Sorry, number 6. The suspect will become quieter and listen. Well, that didn't work. That's true. Move the theme of the discussion towards offering alternatives. If the suspect cries at this point, infer guilt.
That's a bitch move.
That's pretty shitty to do.
Dick move.
Stop crying.
That's like the opposite of what I do in a session. Shut the fuck up, pussy. Your mom's dead. It's okay.
Oh my God.
You did it, didn't you?
Why are you crying? Why is this guilt? Oh, Jesus.
I can see someone just getting upset because they're being interrogated. But seriously, if you're being pressured for hours, you could break easily. Not everyone has the fortitude to put up with that.
I mean,
I would go so far as to say most everyone doesn't.
No, I would agree with that. I mean, I could maybe pull it off, but only because I may or may not have looked into counter-interrogation techniques in the past.
may not.
No, there's no reason.
The other thing that's hard for people to kind of picture, there's a really great video on YouTube. It's very famous. Don't Talk to the Police, which everyone should watch. It's about an hour. First guy is a law professor. The second guy is a third-year law student, and he was a cop for forever. And one of the things he brought up is look, if I'm interrogating you for like 10 hours, I'm on overtime. So every hour that I spend in that room, I'm earning like $200.
I love that video.
And you are losing, your life, your freedom, whatever it is. Like you're losing stuff. I'm just gaining it. I can be there forever and be happy because I'm just gaining money. And that's something again, it's the different motivations that the two people in the interrogation room have. One is only getting positive results from this, and the other one faces dire consequences.
Here's a question for you, Nick. How long can the police officer actually hold you for? I believe there's a time limit. I can't remember what it is.
It's about 48 hours. The rule isn't. It's not like a.
It's not solid. It's floating. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it goes back to, I don't remember the specific case, but what they used to do is they used to arrest people and then just not do anything with them for 30 days. Oh, black people. They used to do that to black people, I should say, which is a very common thing. They would arrest black people for whatever. There was a lot of this during protesting times in the 60s, especially, and they would just hold them without any charge or anything for quite a while, and it didn't start any of the clocks running. So the Supreme Court basically said that they can only hold you for a quote unquote reasonable amount of time. Now that isn't a fixed amount of time. However, going over 48 hours is presumptively unreasonable. Which when something is presumptively reasonable or unreasonable, it means you can overcome the presumption with various facts. For example, if you get arrested, and this is one of the case law elements of this, is if you get arrested and refuse to give your name and identifying information to the police, and it takes them 70 hours to track down someone who knows you, who can come in and positively ID you, that's you violating a law. You are required to provide accurate identification, not necessarily a card, but just who you are to the police at the time of the arrest. So if you are uncooperative and it takes you beyond the 48 hours, you're not going to have a very favorable argument about why your rights were violated. Right. But similarly, if they're holding you for, let's say it's 20 hours, you've identified everything and you have a severe medical condition, and that medical condition can cause you to suffer some sort of brain damage, which would implicate your ability to testify or to provide factual information at a later time. And they do that, and that ends up prejudicing your ability to defend yourself. So like you've got a head wound and they decide to hold you for 20 hours, even though they've got all the info, rather than releasing you to medical care or at least supervised medical care, then that it could be less than 48 hours. So again, it's the presumption is at 48 hours without, you have to have what's called a probable cause hearing.
Right.
So,
gotcha.
Nick, now I got a question for you. If you assert your Miranda rights and don't want to talk to the cops, and you give a false name before they give you Miranda rights, could they still hold you on that charge?
Yeah, you have to. You have a legal obligation to provide accurate identification in all 50 states, and yeah, in that. You can possibly do it through an alias if you're like Ty, for example, his first name is actually Percy, right? But if he said, I'm Ty Beard, I'm an attorney, like they're going to be able to find out who he is. That is probably an accurate identification. But if he says, my name is Ron Toye and this is how I talk, that's
in real life.
probably not going to go as well. So
Ty's fully doxxed on stream now. So
yeah.
On the topic of
get wrecked, scrub.
So on the topic of being, let's say you have a head injury and they didn't release you to medical care within the first 48. What if you're high or impaired? Let's say you did a whole bunch of speed and they arrest you, and you're having convulsions in the box.
Now, importantly, this is for your probable cause hearing. I mean, if you're high, it's like 47 hours. If you're still high after 47 hours,
Jesus.
you are Keith Richards and you're probably fine. But I mean, anything where you're in danger, like they assume a duty of care to you, because you are not free to do whatever else is going on, right? Like you are not free to go pursue your own medical care. So they do have a duty of care to you. And if something happens, you could sue them for, various liability for damage that was done to you.
I do know in Canada, if you are arrested, if you're high or drunk, they'll take you to the hospital first, get you checked out, make sure you're okay, then they take you to the police station. Does that violate anything?
I don't know if it would in Canada. In the U.S., probably not. And again, they're gonna get you not high in under 48 hours. And at that point, all they are obligated to do is give you a probable cause hearing, which you are not even entitled to attend, and you're not entitled to have representation for a probable cause hearing. It's literally, most of the time, it is a prosecutor calling a judge and reading the affidavit of the officer who did the arrest. It says, this is why we are arresting this guy. We want to hold them longer than 48 hours for reason A, B, and C. Can we do that? And then the judge either says yes or no. And most of the time they say yes. But most of the time they're only holding you longer than 48 hours if it's over a weekend or something like that. The worst day to get arrested in the United States is Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that'd be brutal.
Yeah, because you will be in till Monday.
Yeah. Which coincidentally, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is my predicted date on when the appeals court is going to be ruling on Vic's case.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if anybody's having a pool out there about that, but there's my.
What are the odds?
I think we were on number 7.
Yes, we are on number 7. Pose the alternative question, giving 2 choices for what happened, one more socially acceptable than the other. The suspect is expected to choose the easier option, but whichever alternative the suspect chooses, guilt is admitted. As stated above, there's always a third option, which is to maintain that they did not commit the crime. But I guess you just don't tell them about that part.
No, you don't. And you see that this is one you see really popular in movies. It's like, look, you didn't mean to stab him. You guys just got in a scuffle and the knife hit him. Everybody's going to understand that. Nobody thinks you wanted to kill this guy. No one thinks you wanted to hit your wife, right? Like no one thinks that. We understand. Yeah.
With a remote.
The cops are like, look, here's the 2 options that I see happening. 1, you're a malicious asshole and you beat this woman. 2, you're a malicious asshole and you beat this woman.
There you go. I like the last one. It had a certain je ne sais quoi behind it. More a friendly approach, if you will.
Right.
Nobody wants to beat their wife with a remote. I mean, come on.
It's the remote's fault.
Been that mad, though?
The thing to remember about this is all of these questions, all these steps are geared towards one main thing. It is eliciting a specific response that the police officer has predetermined to exist. They have predetermined the guilt. That is what, again, that's when this interrogation technique is supposed to be used, when they believe that the guilt. Now, the problem is the recommended use of the interrogation technique was exceeded. That's why they don't do this anymore. It was exceeded with frequency. And they still do this, but they don't officially do it. But anyway, it's that the police officer has predetermined all of the answers that they're going for, and they're just trying to get you to say it on a recorded, conversation. Because if they can get you to say it, then they can play it in court. And if you say something different in court, then you're risking perjury, and you have to justify why you're saying something now when you've thought about it, when it's beneficial to you, when you're trying to save your own hide, rather than what was fresh. It was closer in time. You were more relaxed at this point. You didn't have a lawyer. All of the things that go into why that answer is more truthful than this answer, whether or not that's correct.
Two quick questions. Two really quick questions for you, Nick. When they put in the screws to you, do you not have the right to have a lawyer to be with you during this interrogation?
You absolutely do.
Right.
And in fact, a lot of interrogations, the cops don't even have a right to have them occur. And so the first thing when someone calls me and says, "Hey, I'm supposed to go in for a police interview," I say, "Why are you supposed to go in for a police interview?" They'll say, "Can you come help me with it?" And I can do that, but let's talk about whether or not you should even be there in the first place.
Yeah.
So yes, you have a right to have a lawyer present while the questioning occurs. What you will usually find is that not much questioning occurs when a lawyer is present.
Isn't that odd?
True.
It's weird.
So odd. But plus,
Those,
it's not the intimidation factor. It's sort of like what we talked about before, when the police can do no wrong in the public eye and so forth. So don't all police officers have a partner when it comes to stuff like this? So right out of the gates, it's a 2-on-1 scenario versus 1-on-1.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is why you need your lawyer. And also the scene from RoboCop, the first one, the good one, when they arrest what's his name after when he shoots up Murphy. He basically brings up to the booking area, spits in the paperwork. You see the blood, says, "Give me my fucking phone call." Just keep that scene in mind if you get arrested. Just spit on the paper, make sure there's lots of blood, and say, "Give me my fucking phone call."
The other thing that I recommend to people, and this is a weird thing to do, but it's get a defense lawyer's card and put it in your wallet or whatever. Because and find out who's up late, find out whose office takes 24-hour calls. That matters, because what happens is they bring you in, and it doesn't, what if you're not in your town and you don't know your lawyer's number? They're going to just give you a phone book. And if you're 30 miles away, like here in outstate Minnesota, you're 30, 40 miles from home, or you're in the cities, the phone book isn't going to have your guy in it. That person that your mom recommended or whatever, they're not going to be there. So you'll be stuck cold calling people, and you're going to go down a list. And it's not like, a lot of times it doesn't say criminal defense attorney unless it's an ad. It just has a list of attorneys. And so you're going to just be calling, "Do you do criminal defense? Do you do criminal defense? Do you do criminal defense?" If they even answer, it's not going to be very productive for you. So have your attorney's number with you. Talk to one, interview them, find someone you like. A lot of them will do a free consultation, especially if you're just trying to get their card for that possible arrest that may happen. And
that conversation, I think I might get arrested.
I can imagine that conversation.
Every time, do we know each other? I'll bring McDonald's with me.
Yeah, but it's go ahead, Ken.
I was going to say, just to clarify for those listening, I know that because I've dealt with this, most phone calls out of the police station and out of court and out of the courthouse and out of the jail are recorded.
Yes.
Would that be on a special phone, or would that be, how would they deal with that? So that your stuff's not being recorded if you're talking on that line.
Your stuff is being recorded no matter what.
Okay.
Always operate under that assumption. Even if you're on your own cell phone, it's very possible that they have a mic in the booking room that will pick up the earpiece. They have the gain way up on those things. They're very good. And for an example of this, for a very good example of this, one of the interviews I did with Ty that many people might have seen, he was on his back porch. Oh, it was during the 24-hour stream that I did.
Yes.
You can hear everything else. It's actually hard to hear Ty because you hear birds, you hear a lawnmower that was like several yards away. You can hear all of the morning effects from like Acme cartoons. All of that is going on, and the mic is picking it all up. Mics in booking stations will pick up the earpiece of a cell phone, so you keep your conversation very limited, and you assume it is recorded, and you try to get your lawyer down there so you can be in a private room, and you can communicate by writing things down, for example, if you need to do that. So
Nick, 2 questions. One, remember your barbecue stream? We heard everything going on. 2, does that violate lawyer-client confidentiality if they're recording you while you're speaking to them?
They can't use it in court, but they can use it however they need to use it, other than in court.
Right.
So if you say, "I did it" on the phone call, like, "Yeah, oh man, I had like 9 drinks," or whatever.
I was so wasted.
Yeah, they can't. Now they can record. if there's a recorder that happens to be on in the room and it picks you up saying I had 9 drinks and was super drunk while you're talking to your attorney, you're going to have a hard time asserting your privilege because you're talking loudly in a room with someone else. Now, if it's like surreptitiously recorded or something like that, it's a little different. They can't record the line if they know your attorney's on it, stuff like that. But I would assume that your voice and possibly anything coming through the earpiece is going to be recorded. And most people don't realize how loud their cell phones are. Because for me, for example, mine is always cranked up to full volume on the earpiece, and I still don't think it's loud enough. But it might be kind of hard for me to hear it sometimes, but everybody else around me, if it's quiet in the area, can hear it because the way speakers work. So you should expect that they are recording, they are listening, and even if they can't use it in court against you, they'll use it to build the narrative for those investigations, interrogations, and they can use it to talk to other witnesses about you as well. So they've got that information, and they are very good at using information, even if they can't use a direct quote.
So I got one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
In the instance, let's say Crumb jaywalks and someone decides to arrest her for it. If she were to have your business card, could she call you out of state to come to Canada to defend her, or does the legal work defy that? State, you got to work within your jurisdiction.
I'm not licensed to practice in Canada. I can't do it, so that would be probably not the best call. But here's the thing: like if Crumb called all the attorneys in the book and none of them answered, and then called me and I did, I'd happily give some non-legal advice on how to deal with the situation, and then I would, suggest maybe we should take it out of Canada, put it in Wisconsin or something like that. I would suggest to keep asserting the right to not speak until an attorney is provided for you. If you can't get a hold of one, that an attorney should show up and act on your behalf. You have that right. So, but yeah, you can, if you have an attorney that you work with all the time, there are weird rules about legal advice in different states, but they still can't come represent you. But like if you have an attorney that deals with everything, for example, I'll use Ty again as an example because he's an estate attorney. He's also a commercial litigator because those things go hand in hand. He deals with people with very large net worths who run big businesses, and he does their estate stuff. He also handles stuff like criminal matters, CPS issues, family law issues, whatever, because of course you do. That person has $900 million and you want some of it.
Yeah.
One of those people calls him, and let's say they're in Oklahoma on a business deal and they get pulled over for a DUI. I don't know if Ty would give them full advice, but he's going to have some leeway on what he can say to them. And he's, okay, here's what you need to do right now. We're gonna hire local counsel, whatever we need to do to help you out with this. But on that phone call, yeah, it makes sense that you'll call that person.
So if you don't get in trouble, Nick can't defend you.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, and I know that you mentioned this somewhere. I believe might have been on Twitter, Nick. That just getting that practice, and this is something I guess is just more advice for people in general. Getting the practice of just assuming everything that you've said or everything that you say is being recorded, and just because that way you can never be surprised about what you say. Because right. Honestly, we live in such an age now where everything is digital and everything is so accessible, and leaks happen all the time. It's just better to just be careful about what you say all the time, because then you could never be surprised about when it gets brought in the forefront.
Yeah, just be a truthful person.
Just be a truthful person.
Yeah. That helps.
Let your lawyer speak for you. Done.
Just let your inner lawyer talk.
Isn't it? Exactly. It's like, did I get my fucking phone call? No, I did not. Get away from me, copper.
Oh my goodness. So we're almost through these. Lead the suspect to repeat the admission of guilt in front of witnesses and develop corroborating information to establish the validity of confession.
Yeah, this would be if they're not recording. This is, you want to get more people to hear the oh wait, no, in front of witnesses. Oh shit. Sorry, I was
That's the best coming from a lawyer. Oh shit.
Yeah, well, they want him to admit the guilt in front of witnesses to the crime, for example, because that's going to reinforce their biases about how the facts actually played out and what they remember. And maybe Ken can talk a little bit on the validity or the power of memory. Can you do that, Ken?
Oh yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of my undergrad, was doing cognitive psychology. Pretty much, even someone you can interview who just witnessed a crime or witnessed an incident can say something and it totally not happen.
Mm-hmm.
And as every day passes, you're slowly losing the recollection of the memory. You'll probably have childhood memories that you cherish that aren't actually what happened. And that's really kind of shitty to think about. But they're probably not exactly how it actually happened. Like, I have video, because my dad was one of those people who had the old VHS videotape things when I was a kid, and he videotaped the shit out of everything.
Yeah.
I go back and look at like my 4th and 5th birthday parties and stuff and remember things about it, and then go watch the tape and be like, that's not how I remembered it. And that was decades ago. And it's slightly different. It's not necessarily completely incorrect. It might be, different people or facts switch or things happen in different order. But all that's really important when it comes to your life on the line in an interrogation. If you say the wrong thing, or if in a courtroom, someone who witnessed your incident misremembers things, and it could put, if that's the only witness, that could be you in jail for years or decades.
And the real danger of this one is them developing a bias that you did it, and then constructing memories that support that conclusion that they know to be true.
That's a big one.
And so, I've talked about this a couple times with the Vic case. This is the problem with 10, 20-year-old accusations against people is you don't know what your state of mind was on one specific day 10 years ago. I don't care what vivid thing has etched that into your mind. You may believe it 100%, and you may be correct, but you very likely are incorrect as well. They did a really interesting study involving 9/11 with this, because one of the things they say is trauma solidifies memory, and they asked a bunch of people questions shortly after 9/11. They asked them a year later, and they asked them like 5 years later. And what they found was it was a simple question that everybody remembers, right? Where were you during 9/11? Is the American meme. It used to be, where were you when Kennedy was shot?
Yeah.
But what they found was people's recollection of that time was so vivid when it happened. It was so vivid every time they told the story. But as the years went by, the story changed dramatically. They found it like, and again, even just 1 year apart, on 9/11/02, people had different stories about where they were than the time that it actually happened. Because you hear someone else's story and someone else's story, and you hear two news stories, and you start building in things that definitely happened to you that actually didn't, because your brain kind of mixes it up and adopts things and fills in blanks. Otherwise, our heads would melt from having a didactic memory of every single detail. We don't work that way. We have approximations, and then our brain fills in details from what we consider to be reliable sources. And so this is the real danger of this. It's also the real danger of police officers, as I talked about with the case earlier, giving details about a crime to an alleged perpetrator of the crime. Perpetrator will start remembering things that didn't happen because the police officer told them that this happened. And if they're like, oh, well, I was drunk, or I was tired, or whatever, I don't really remember that, but yeah, I guess I must have had a knife because she was stabbed. I mean, she was stabbed a lot, so I must have gotten the knife from the kitchen. Of course I got the knife from the kitchen. I don't walk around with a kitchen knife. I went to the kitchen and I pulled it out of the block, and then I stabbed that fucking bitch. Like that.
And I
got him,
wanted a
guys. We got him.
sandwich.
It isn't a joke. Like that's how that
Yeah.
plays out, and it's how that progression of questioning worked out in that case, and it's how it works out in other cases. So
Yeah.
So
And we see that in both ways too. We see that in terms of people either making things worse for themselves or whatever situations, and then people like completely dismissing stuff that actually happened to make
Right.
it better for themselves. You had something there, Ken?
yeah, so I went ahead and pulled up some stuff on eyewitness memory, and there's different from this thing. There's different factors that can affect it, like stress and anxiety, reconstructive memory, weapon focus, or event focus. So one of the studies that it linked to was from 1974. It was on traffic accidents, and so basically you can accidentally prime someone based on how you ask the question. And in this study, they showed people like a video of someone, like a car driving through the countryside, and for a few minutes, and then it was like a minute of traffic like 4 seconds of a couple traffic accidents. And then they'd ask people, the participants, how fast were the cars going when they were hit, and and then the other 50 were asked, how fast were they going when they smashed each other. And compared to the control, in the hit, so the control was 6 people saw broken glass, hit saw 7, and 16 saw broken glass when they were using the smash term. So it was almost double, or more than double. So you can accent, like the way you ask the question, they will remember things from something, even if it was a week ago, whenever they asked, they showed them the video. That was 1 week. And,
Right.
Twice as many people remembered something different than they actually saw, than actually happened. So
yeah, and the overwhelming majority of people who are witnesses to a criminal act are caught by surprise.
oh,
Like
yeah.
they're not there expecting to see it. So their attention is elsewhere. A really interesting video is it's the famous like count the number of passes video that's out there, and you're supposed to watch these people throwing a basketball around and count the number of times the basketball is passed, and then at the end, there's something revealed about that video about the number of times it has passed, and usually people are very, very surprised by what they find out. And the crazy thing is those people are paying attention. So when you think about it, the person who's standing across the Walmart when some guy pulls a gun and shoots someone in the produce section because they are always out of okra.
Milk's not half off.
And that happens, and then they're like, okay, describe the guy. And it's like, what was he wearing? It's like, they genuinely could not tell you what were they wearing. Now, if they said, the suspect's a businessman, what was he wearing? Okay, he was wearing slacks. He's got a tie. I remember a tie. Was it blue or red? Like those types of things start to build a profile for people. But most people, like, they don't know. All they know is they were standing over here buying pimple cream or whatever. They hear a gunshot and they turn and they see some guy running off. And then it's like, oh yeah, I saw that guy get shot. Now you're an eyewitness. They weren't watching carefully, and their memory is going to be very susceptible. If they talk to anybody between talking to the police, that memory is going to change very quickly based on, oh yeah, I saw some guy arguing with him. He was wearing a t-shirt, like that. Those details are going to be built in even if they never saw it.
Oh yeah, and then one of the big things on kind of the construction of memory is, if anyone's familiar with the satanic rape and abuse cases from the 80s and 90s, that was its whole clusterfuck of things. Basically, the summary of it was people would come in for like therapy sessions and actually changed the way a lot of therapy was done, and people would accidentally get primed in suddenly remembering this rape that never happened, and people went to jail for years, lots of people. And then some of these never had, like, there was never really any evidence of an actual demonic satanic cult thing actually ever happening. It was something that kind of happened in multiple places.
Yeah, sure thing, Satan apologist. The greatest thing the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't rape those women.
Ken, are you talking about the Bohemian Grove?
Or
No,
we're talking about the
that's a whole-
queuing thing that's taking place.
No, I mean the satanic cult. Are you talking about the Bohemian Grove? Because that's what came to mind first when you mentioned it.
No, if I'll see
No,
if I
no,
can
that's-
find some links to it. There was during the 80s and 90s there was a series of people suddenly recalling these vivid memories of being raped in like a satanic cult kind of thing, like and like these horrible vicious rapes. And for many of them they never happened. For some others they had other types of abuse and it led down into these recollections of memories. I did a whole paper on it when I was in my undergrad. And
it's definitely not linked to the Grove thing they're talking about there, Phoenix.
no, it's a whole different thing.
No, we only talk about white collar satanic cults here, Phoenix.
That's
Yes.
right, Phoenix.
What
Racist.
are you doing?
Don't cult shame me, bro.
So like that's the repressed memories thing or the recall
Yeah.
memories thing. It's such a
It's so fascinating. Like we're seeing it so often now with the advent of social media. I mean, these stories have been published for like 15, 20 years. Like these things have been around, and like some of it were even memed about. Like they're like, as like myself and Mr. Hop would know, like as convention runners, we hear this shit all the time. Like back in the day, people would have a story about this, about that, about whatever else, and that would be passed around, and everyone would add their piece, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like I know about this, I know about that," but none of it's true. Like none of that shit's true.
The best part is, don't work with that person. My immediate response was, did he do something wrong? Yeah, he did actually. I'm like, oh God, let me guess.
Yeah. Insert like flavor of the day here, but like
Exactly.
none of that shit was ever true. It's like the whole what the fuck was it, the M&Ms, green M&Ms? Like,
Yeah.
that's a fucking trope, and people are like pinning it on specific people. Like it's like, oh well, they got mad because they wanted green M&Ms only in their guest room, and they didn't get green M&Ms. It's like that's been said about like a dozen people that I know. It's like it doesn't happen. It's a trope. It's a joke. It's not.
And that's
real.
why he flipped out on the whole audio team, because he didn't get his green M&Ms. Oh God.
I
Like,
started to be that guy, but I have to get this back on track. We are right.
It's okay.
Number 9, document the suspect's admission of confession and have him or her prepare a record statement, audio, written, or video.
Without the lawyer there, of course.
Without a lawyer there.
Yeah.
Preferably.
Mm.
Yep. Just write down what you did.
That's right. And if you're dyslexic, just speak into the microphone. It's okay. Just tell us everything.
Again, going back to The Wire, there's a great scene where the guy he's smart enough to not write a confession, but they convince him to write an apology or like write a letter consoling the children of the guy who was killed.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
Like, I'm sorry, your dad's dead. His lawyer walks in. What the fuck are you doing? Put that pen down.
That's what's scary, Nick, is Drex reminds me of Stringer Bell a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. He's taller than Stringer, though.
Oh, goodness gracious.
That's such an interesting technique, because like I see it applied in like HR all the time. Like that sort of thing is very much prevalent in corporate culture, and just generally when you want to I guess get a confession out of somebody or what have you. That's really interesting stuff.
Write an apology.
Write an apology. Write down what you did wrong.
Look, I know you didn't do it, but just go ahead and write an apology. That'll clear everything up. Now you've got a written record of all of you doing whatever. Don't do it. Don't write an apology.
Oh my goodness. Well, I have something here. I don't know if I'm going to get DMCA'd for this, Nick.
Oh,
I don't know. Let me just find
God.
it.
there we go.
Is it involving a certain twosome?
Is it fat?
There we go.
Oh, yeah. No, that's my logo. How dare you?
It's an Antifa mask, it looks like to me. What are you
What
complicit in?
in the fuck is this? Sorry.
we got this. We got this sent to us. This picture sent. It's looking like somebody is appropriating your logo there, Ricada.
I just want to point out that Ty Beard's office has a horrific problem with webbing. going on there. That needs to be cleaned up. This is disgusting.
So this is probably not PG related. This is probably R related or maybe XXX. But I had opened the picture and that's currently on the screen, like opened the image in a different tab. And when I did it, because it's a large image, it was zoomed in. It was only like the upper part of the image, and I accidentally thought it was like unshaved genitalia. Because of the cop, and I had to like scroll down. Holy shit! It freaked me out for a second. I'm a little tired.
Hairy balls.
If you look at it in the right light with it zoomed in, it could look like something inappropriate.
This is true.
Doesn't it get the trimmer 2.0?
Ty's gonna get a Me Too case, I'm guessing.
From me.
I think the statue would be more Me Too than anything. So
This is true.
could you imagine the things that's happened to that over the years?
Oh my goodness.
You know,
I didn't know you sell face masks.
I do.
I want one.
Well, there you go. Where can you get this wonderful face mask, Mr. Ricada?
You can get it on Teespring.
Excellent.
.com/Ricada Law, I think. Or just search for Ricada Law mask. I think that'll work too. They come in different colors if you're racist.
It comes in Antifa orange.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know. I think this one's actually red. I think.
Perfect.
I think that's the red, but it's hard to say. You never know what someone's camera settings and white balance are.
it's a great mask to wear while you're out socially distancing and writing.
Mm-hmm. You can also lick people through it.
Ooh.
I got a question for you, Nick.
Yeah.
Because we're both big movie fans, I'm sure you've seen Lethal Weapon 2. What does diplomatic immunity protect you against?
Damn near fucking everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Is there anything that can get you on though?
No.
Not really. Not unless the other nation decides to rescind your diplomat status and turn you over. Like that's about it.
So if you were a diplomat and you shot someone in the middle of the street, they can't charge you.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Even I know that.
It is that ridiculous. Now, typically, the idea would be that you'd get charged in your home country, or that they would, through some sort of treaty, agree to subject you to the jurisdiction for an intentional act or something. But we had that one of the ambassadors or whatever diplomats from the U.S. over in the U.K. She just ran over some guy and killed him, and then
Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
Couldn't help myself.
Caitlyn.
They just ran over someone and killed him, and then came back to the States. And we have, to my knowledge, not provided them over to the UK for criminal punishment. It may have even been like a DUI sort of thing. It was certainly negligent, because it's pretty easy to find out that someone was negligent when they ran over someone else. Like that.
Yeah. Yes.
What happened?
But I was drunk. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
So,
fine.
but yeah, we have
It's not
not.
American.
They're immune from that. There's all sorts of nasty stories about foreign diplomats coming here and doing things that would have literal mobs of people ready to murder them if they knew about it. And those people have not been prosecuted. And that they find out about this stuff, and they have immunity unless the country waives its privilege, because the diplomat's acting on behalf of a country, and the country can waive its right to immunity in your court. So
It's interesting.
That's my next question too, is the sanctuary laws. So let's say I decide one day to shoot Crumb in the head, no offense, and I decide to take
that was very
does that still protect me as long as I'm in the
No
church?
kidding.
You're disinvited from Christmas.
Oh wait, in the church?
If I took sanctuary in a church, could the police still down for that?
Yeah, they can come right in and take you. There is no sanctuary in a church.
Yeah, because there's been a few cases in Canada where a person was going to be sent back to their country. They took refuge in a church and they couldn't touch them. Yeah, sanctuary protection.
Church or a mosque?
Probably a mosque.
More like
It was a Haitian national that his visa had run out and he was hiding from the feds. He took refuge in a church and they couldn't touch him unless he stepped foot out of the church.
What?
Now that might be some weird artifact of Canadian law, or some agreement that they have, depending on the church. I don't know. In the U.S., like if you're in a church and they have probable cause to believe that you're in the church, what they can do is, if they're in hot pursuit, they can just come in. If they're not in hot pursuit, but they have probable cause to believe that you're in there, they can apply for a warrant to make the arrest.
Now here's a question.
They can execute the warrant on the church and go in and grab you.
Since the church is more of like a public place where pretty much anyone can go, would you really need a warrant for the search though? Since I could just walk in there.
Yes.
If they're in the main sanctuary area, I mean, you could walk in unless they tell you can't, right? Like because if the priest comes up and says, "No, I'm sorry, you're not welcome here," you'd have to get a warrant, because they could do that to you or me.
Yeah.
But if the cops walk into it without being told that they can't be there, and they see the guy in the public sanctuary area, they could certainly grab him. There'd be nothing stopping him. Now, if he was in the back room or a basement or some sort of administrative office, they set up a cot or something, and the public's not generally welcome there, and the door's locked, they can't just walk around and do stuff like that. That gets to be a search. And then a seizure. But what they probably just do is station officers near exits or whatever, if this is someone they're really after, and get a warrant. They can have a warrant. You can have a warrant in 10 minutes nowadays. So worst case, middle of the night, you can have a warrant in 2 hours. There's almost no reason now that they can't get warrants and the only times they'll really forego it is when they think that there's some sort of real danger to somebody.
I can't think of anything else, unless Crumb and Hop have anything they want to add.
I actually did want to ask Ricada about his. Have you seen anything about the Yelp bullshit that's going on? Now?
I did.
Yelp, what's going on?
Oh my god.
What's happening? About 5 minutes behind this.
I don't know much about the story outside of the fact that Yelp put this splash page over a business saying that we've received a lot of reports from people that this business has been having racist conduct. And so we're investigating these claims. But as we're investigating the validity of these claims, just know that this business has been accused of racist shit.
Oh, Jesus.
Look, I don't know of any more racist businesses out there than loan agencies in Texas. I have never, home lenders in Texas, very, very racist. Redlining has been a thing forever. They're highly regulated, but they're always trying to get around it. I'm not saying anything, but just
now Yelp is in your corner. Now you can
actually, I've heard Funimation doesn't really employ very many black people.
Well, that's a shock.
What?
In fact, they have
that possible?
Notorious bald white fat guy voicing black characters all over the place.
Unreal.
No, that's not.
I don't know.
Why would Sony allow that to happen?
I think every single should be reported as racist. Every single one of them. Because that's the only way you get around this stuff, is if you just report everything. Just report everything.
Oh, I agree.
I hope there are 300 people who just start going through Yelp. They're like, we're going to start on D today. Racist, racist. And just keep going, because we've got to stop this.
So do you find it possibly legally actionable for Yelp to do that?
The way they're going to frame it is this place has been accused of racism, which is a true thing, whether or not the accusations have any merit at all. The businesses are going to have to try and assert some sort of damage over it. And that's a tough thing to do, a very tough thing to do, especially if you're being accused of racism. Mm-hmm. Is to suggest that the Yelp page itself is what caused it, rather than the accusations themselves from other people. The other thing you don't have is you don't have data on how many people viewed your Yelp page, and you may be able to squeeze it out of Yelp eventually, but if they have any brains, they'll be very, very hesitant to share that information. And if I were their attorney, I would try and protect any information about traffic to individual websites and promotions and stuff, or to individual shops and promotions as business trade secrets. I would try and protect that. Even outside of the defense context, it's just stuff that they don't want to have leaking out there. I think there certainly could be a cause of action from it. How successful it'll be, you got to sue in a state without an anti-slap and really just put the hammer down on them is your best bet.
And also, how is terms of service over at Yelp? Do they have like that clause saying we can do whatever we want on our website, regardless of blah blah blah? And you're clicking OK.
Those clauses aren't legally operative.
Interesting.
Because you can't. They can't do. I've said this a couple times. You can't kick someone off for any reason. You can kick someone off for no reason, but not for any reason, because you can't. Like, I couldn't start banning people in the chat who were Mexican solely because they were Mexican, right? Like, you can't do that because that would be racial discrimination. So, so they can't. Yelp can't do anything. That clause is relatively unimportant as far as those sorts of clauses go. They're going to have a lot of deference. They're going to say, we have discretion in our sole discretion to apply labels for the purposes of our trade and protecting our opinions. But I haven't read their terms of service specifically, but there's going to be cover for them in there. But the question will always be, is a business, like, let's say my business, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't enter into a contract with Yelp.
Yeah. Right.
So
it's kind of something that's being like thrust upon businesses.
Right. So
it's not the Better Business Bureau.
If Yelp comes out and starts saying things about my business or law practice that aren't true, or if someone put a negative review up and I challenge it and they refuse to take it down and I can show that I lose business from that thing or something like that, then there's a cause of action. Whether or not you win is a hard question, and we're learning all of this stuff. Like, the law is still learning these things. 5 years ago, no one would have thought of this.
Yeah,
This wouldn't have happened.
Could you technically go after them for libel?
Maybe. I think Yelp is going to write their thing carefully to try and insulate themselves from libel, but they are, it could be a libelous statement that they're republishing, or at least a libelous sentiment. And so you don't get to hide and just say, like, I know that they're trying to do this down in Vic's case, but just because a bunch of people say a lie doesn't mean that you get to say the lie either. Like, also, so especially if you're a business, and remember that Yelp's business is reviewing. And I talked about this a little bit with Apollo Legend versus Billy Mitchell. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Apollo Legend has deleted all of his videos about Billy Mitchell.
Oh,
and
wow.
They've allegedly reached settlement on the things. And I'll tell you why I think that happened. And who knows what the settlement amount is, but I think a big part of that was Billy Mitchell reached settlement with Guinness, and Guinness reinstated his records. And now you have a company who's in the business of record keeping saying that the records are legitimate, and that starts to undermine everybody else's assertions. Yelp is in the business of reviews. Like, Yelp is in the business of maintaining reviews about a company, and they likely have policies in place on internal documents that they wouldn't want leaked that have to do with curating reviews that are inappropriate or irrelevant or seem as part of some sort of social movement. And if someone complained about them and Yelp refused to take them down, and they say, this person's never been to my restaurant. They're from a different country. They weren't here, and they're clearly latching onto a social movement. And these are false statements. There's certainly a possibility of some sort of deceptive trade practice, if nothing else, against Yelp. It might be hard to go the libel route, but there's probably something that they're doing that you could really get into. And again, if you're not I'm not contracting with Yelp. I don't have any agreements with them. I'm not bound by their terms of service, and they can't just say that their terms of service allow them to libel me and I agree to that. That's not a true thing. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think if Yelp is smart, they'll just scrap this policy or never use it.
Yeah, it honestly, it shocked me when I saw it, because it's like, why would you even put yourself in a situation where you could potentially be libeling a company? That just seems really stupid to me. It's the same sort of situation, I guess, that we see with Reddit and other things. Like, I know, like Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that, they have protection with the Section 230 whatever protections, but it comes down to, like, when we look at Reddit, for example, and this is something that Mr. Hop and I found out when we were dealing with the whole shit with Kitchener Comic-Con, was that Reddit and the subreddit, like, so Reddit as a whole, they do their thing, right? They have they have their people. They don't moderate the subreddits. The subreddits are self-moderated by people. So, like, I could go on and I could make a Reddit, like a subreddit about Ricada law, and you don't have any say in that. I could have all the say in it, and I could run it all the way that I wanted to. And like we found this out because the Kitchener subreddit, like the Kitchener, Ontario subreddit, is run by someone who is not affiliated with the city whatsoever.
But the funny is that they actually used logos from the city of Kitchener, makes it even more fantastic.
They did, and it's run by some Yahoo that like, it lives on Reddit all the time, which is fine. He got permission from the city because the city's like, yeah, we don't want to run a fucking subreddit. Go for it. We don't care. And they hold beliefs and things like that are very unique, to say the least. So when things came up about Kitchener Comic-Con, any negative news they would promote. Anything positive they would archive, lock down, shut down. They would not allow anyone to talk positively about it. Nice. And so the city has no control over it because it's some random in his basement that has control over the subreddit. So it's, I mean, after we found that out, I went out and immediately made a Kitchener Comic-Con official subreddit. But, it's just like that. It's so weird because there's no recourse on Reddit to take that up either.
Nope.
It's so bizarre.
The way Reddit's been handling things recently has been, I've watched it happen in multiple subreddits. They'll lock down any kind of conversation they don't want, and Reddit is taking a very uneven hand on which side it will allow and won't.
Mm-hmm. It's so strange.
Yep. And we don't have the tools for the communication tech that we have. Again, 230 is kind of in the news lately because there's some proposed reforms to it. Some of them are actually very good. One of them involves getting rid of the otherwise objectionable exception, because that was the caveat. It's like no gore, no or like not no gore. They're protected from like murder. They're protected from like revenge porn stuff. They're protected from child pornography, stuff like that, being uploaded without them taking it down in time, basically. They're protected from that. But then they're also protected from any action taken against otherwise objectionable content. And you're like, wait a minute. So this section was written to prevent child porn being surreptitiously uploaded to a website and then them being sued for it. Like, that's what this section was about.
Yeah.
And we're using it to protect them censoring political opinions. That's what it morphed into. Like, we wanted to protect websites from being sued for uploading someone's wedding sex tape without their permission. And then we're using it, though, to shut down the speech of our political opponents. So that's why some of the reforms to 230 are good. They need to be very minimal, getting rid of otherwise objectionable and putting in an objectively reasonable standard is one of the proposals, and that's a very positive change. And as those things change, we may see some big changes in how places like Reddit and Twitter do allow moderation of their content. Reddit itself does not moderate content, but Reddit moderators are shielded under the same 230 protection that Reddit is currently, and that should probably change if they're curating a a Reddit forum for the specific purpose of spreading false information to harm a business, then that business should have a right to go after them, and they may not win. You know, if just in the same way, if someone's walking around town and they only repeat negative stuff about you, that's a lie. You have a right to go after them. You may not win, but you should at least have the opportunity to say, this person is trying to ruin my life. And the fact that we don't, that we have resistance to that is still weird to me, because if someone was walking around punching you, no, hear me out.
That's coming. Awesome.
If someone walked up and just 5 times a day, they just punched you, not even super hard, not breaking your nose or anything like that, they just slugged you in the face, you would absolutely have a right to sue them for interrupting your day and for causing you harm. You know what's way more harmful than getting punched 5 times in a day? Losing a job.
Yeah.
Like that is way more damaging to a person over the long term. It puts them under more stress. They're at more risk of dying after losing a job. Just look at Mr. Stallings, for example. That type of thing can weigh on people. It can send them into bad places. It can put them in debt. All of those compounding factors are way worse. But we're like, no, but I mean, they said they're entitled to say that. It's like, well, they are, but they're also entitled to be held accountable when they're intentionally doing it to cause harm. And we have to protect people's right to defend their reputations as much as we would their own person, because their reputation can ultimately be way more valuable than a cheek that'll puff up for 2 days.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, preach to that. Absolutely. Well, I think that was a great talk today. Did you guys have anything else that you want to bring up? We'll start with Phoenix.
I don't want to drag this on longer than it has, but if I could get Nick's quick take on what's going on with Rooster Teeth with, hold on a second, let me grab their names.
Adam Kovic and Ryan Haywood.
Oh,
yes,
Jesus.
your hot take on that. If
My phones are ringing.
Pops and Crumb don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take the quick shots at him. Those two sub men are degenerate. They're awful. I don't care if you want to share pictures with people online. That's not what I find degenerate. I find their mistreatment of their spouses objectionable. I don't care if their wives consented to it. I find that to be mistreatment of their spouses. I find it objectionable, and I think it's one of the worst things you can do, to expose the intimacy that should be reserved for your spouse. If you choose a spouse and make promises to them, that's what that is, and that these guys have gotten catfished. They were trapped online by the simple lie that a woman was doing it was enough for them to go against their significant other, to send hundreds of sexually explicit pictures and videos to this person. Ryan Haywood allegedly was interacting with a minor. That was pointed out on Kiwi Farms that someone broke down the dates of the messages between the girl and Ryan Haywood, and then her announcement of her 20th birthday. That was 3 years later, or two years and some change later, and they found out this girl was 17 while he was messaging her and sending her pictures of his penis. That, you know what? Like, what? Why should we have any sympathy for these people? These are also people who hypocritically have stated, as part of Rooster Teeth, that they're opposed to this sort of behavior. Now, Rooster Teeth, to their credit, did come out with a very milquetoast statement saying that people did not uphold Rooster Teeth's values, and they have parted ways. Interesting thing is, I think they probably did uphold Rooster Teeth's values. Everything I've seen about Rooster Teeth shows that behavior was not only not unexpected, but it seems to be consistent with it. So I find their corporate statement to be a little bit laughable. But the reality, the real harm, the real nasty stuff is that these guys are both married. One of them has children, and they're out there they're out there sending pictures of their dicks on the internet. And by the way, let me just talk about Adam for a second. I'm not going to go in on you. The dildo you bought already did that. But my God, man. Just because someone who alleges to be a woman on the internet tells you to buy a giant dildo and shove it in your anus and take pictures and videos of it, don't do it. That's
especially for free.
Yeah, no, don't do it. Not even for money.
There's a term for that, Nick. It's called being Preston.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'll counter that. Do it. Absolutely do it because it's fucking hilarious.
It is very funny. No, it just like it. I have from day one taken my marriage vows to be the most serious vows I've ever made. I can't fathom the activity or the state of mind that would lead me to some random person sending me like a message on Facebook and like, here's my dick. Have a whole bunch of pictures of it. Like that. I like that the betrayal and then again, because I know there's the consent argument, but like the idea that I would go to my wife and be like, listen, Lady Rackets, there's
I love this conversation already.
There we go.
I got to talk to you because I want to do something, and I need your permission to do it. Do you remember that time we videoed where I was, I had hands going on you, and we were really getting into it. What I want to do is there's this person on the internet, and I want to take that video and I want to send it to them.
Oh my God.
Because they just asked me to. And they're like, it would be really hot if I saw you banging your wife. And so I'm like, yeah, that would actually be really hot. I want to send that to them. Are you okay with it? I can't imagine. Like, I get that there's, maybe she consented. Well, maybe she did. But let's not stop shaming the person who had to have that conversation to get the consent in the first place. Because that's embarrassing. And it's degrading to your spouse. And to me, like the one thing I hope I never do, online, I'm sure I will say all sorts of bad things and screw up and make myself look bad. The one thing I hope to never do is by accident or on purpose disrespect or degrade Lady Rackets in any sort of way, but especially in that way that is most like that's the crux of marriage, is this intimacy that you have, which is not just sex, but that intimate part of our relationship. I would never want to demean that by just sending it to a random person on Instagram.
I was thirsty.
They already got you.
I was out of Dr. Pepper and I needed
Wait a second. Wait a second. Phoenix, give Nick a second. Nick needs a moment.
He needs a moment.
That's right.
I will remember you.
I'm going to suggest doing that conversation with Lady Rackets for premium content as a prank.
Oh my God!
Paywall that bitch.
Paywall the fuck
I can't even imagine. Like I told her about it. I told her about what happened. And it just like the look of just disgust on her face told the story. It's like just and sadness, right? Like, and because it was, I'm like, well, this is what happened. She's asking what I was talking about with someone. I don't remember. And I was like, well, this is what happened with these Rooster Teeth guys. And and they're married. And it was just like, you could see it just like, oh, damn it. Like, and that's the saddest part of the story. Otherwise, Crumb, I agree with you. It is hilarious though. And it couldn't have happened to a funnier company. And the pictures are so sad in the other sad way. Like they're just sad. It's like no one wanted to see this. The person
it's not like Chris. It's not like Chris Evans, right?
Right. If someone sent me a message, by the way, and they said, I want to see that. I want to see that cock. I'd be like, okay, look, I've seen me and listen, I am not gym material. So, I get it. This is funny prank. Haha. But some of these guys are I guess they're so obsessed that they're like, oh yeah, me too. I'm going to take these pictures for me.
Well, I mean, Count Dankula shows pictures of his Pringles can and balls on his Snapchat, so you have to up your game.
Not happening. Not happening.
Just imagine if something like this happened to Vic. Could you imagine how the internet be set on fire? Like,
right.
When I heard about this, I honestly was generally upset because Kick Vic, nowhere to be mentioned, no one cared, didn't fit an agenda. Then all of a sudden this stuff pops up, and it's like, where is the internet outrage? Nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. It's okay.
Sorry. And I didn't want those guys fired or anything like that. I don't know. It doesn't. Importantly, it doesn't say that. What was Rooster Teeth's statement? Does anybody have that?
Not handy, but what you paraphrased was pretty much exactly what Rooster Teeth did say.
Very passive, though, and
it wasn't like, well, these guys are idiots.
They didn't name anybody. They just said that they've parted ways with individuals and they've rescheduled programming.
Right, and those individuals were allowed to make their statements first.
Yeah.
I found the disconnect between what happened to Vic and what happened with these guys to be, it's palpable. And maybe to give Rooster Teeth deference, maybe they're learning from the situation and changing their approach because of how Vic's thing went down. I don't think so, though. I got the impression that, they're like, well, we kind of have to do this and we don't want to.
Yeah, and on top of all that, ANN wasn't involved at the time when I heard about this as well. And it's like, no one else was talking about that at the particular time I came across this. It's like, you have to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Just astronomical. Plus, on top of that, on a separate note, the stuff with Rooster Teeth, it's going to be pretty much water on the bridge fairly shortly because Crumb and I talked about this fairly recently. Rooster Teeth is owned by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is owned by AT&T, and AT&T is in this exclusive hobby of making money and having as much money as they possibly want.
They're walking around right now with a giant hammer looking for any moles to hit.
Oh yeah. Basically, there's more job cuts coming to the Warner studios, and Rooster Teeth is a part of that. And I heard through the grapevine that Warner Brothers is not happy with the current ongoing auspices of Rooster Teeth, so they might be canceled.
Did you guys see? There's one of the Rooster Teeth guys did what was called an ominous tweet or something. It was like, "Where were you when the walls came down?" He was quoting a song, and I think, Rooster Teeth has been. It almost looks like they're being targeted by people, and if they are,
how do you like being canceled,
Mr. Pendulum swings both ways, isn't it?
It does, and this is the world you built. Like, I've talked with Drexel about Keith Ellison a couple times. He's the Attorney General in Minnesota, and he got Me Too. Same with Al Franken, and I think if you look at them objectively, I think both of those are weak claims. Weak Me Too's, and they probably should have been ignored. But hey, you assholes built this system. You too were the ones going after other people and setting up these standards. So now you're being held to it. And I think that's happening to Rooster Teeth. If it happens to Funimation, it's going to be the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
All that we really need for the walls the veneer to come off Funimation is every con owner to just own up and say it. And maybe since I've heard rumors that 50% or more of existing conventions in America are not coming back next year because they just can't.
Yeah.
If that happens, there's a very real possibility that if some people get out of the business, because I've talked to a couple of convention owners that are still running shows, and they say the shit we know about what all of these people do at our shows. We know everything that they've done, and the stuff that they're complaining about pales in comparison to their own stuff. And so, if convention owners start just opening up on these guys, if something pisses them off, they've all got to be terrified of it. Funimation's got to be terrified of it. When I talk to some Funimation employees, before. They talked about how the moment the Vic stuff came out, there were a couple people in that office, people you guys have heard of, not backroom people, front room people, who didn't come out of their office anymore.
Oh yeah.
They went in, they closed their door. They would come out to go to the bathroom, grab coffee, and go right back to their office. They didn't talk to anybody because they wanted to be forgotten that they existed, because these people were exploiting sexuality of themselves or of others their entire careers. It's part of the culture, and it has been forever.
Wouldn't it be embarrassing, again, as you said before there, Nick, that convention owners did come out with stuff like that all in one major push? Funimation would snap in half, because one of the few things that's going on right now is Sony does not want to deal with bad press at all. Reason being is that they're now happy in bed with Marvel, especially the whole Spider-Man thing and the whole multiverse thing back and forth. And of course, Disney's owned, Marvel's owned by Disney. So Disney needs to make the money. Basically, Sony needs to make the money. And there's stuff out there that gets them embarrassed. It's going to get chopped pretty freaking quick.
Well, Mr. Hop, I got information on good authority.
Oh, you do?
About a local convention. Well, not a local, but like I should say Canada. Like Canada's local.
Okay. This is true.
All Canada. Canada's seriously just Canada. 4 blocks.
Exactly. We're a few blocks away from each other.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, I'm just next door. Tim Hortons, Crumman and Hopper on the next street over,
Just a few blocks. But I have it on good authority.
What you
that got? I don't remember if y'all recall my prediction of a certain individual that has been working their way up the ranks of a certain convention that is trying to insert one of the top 3 of the particular convention. Just moved up the ladder a little bit more recently.
Oh, really?
The director of their panels was forced into retirement. And
really?
This particular individual that I had mentioned before has taken over that spot, which is now right below the spot that he has been gunning for. And if that particular thing happens, now let me just say, if that particular thing, my prediction happens, I think that the person that would be ousted would start a fire that would rival California.
It'd be interesting if that person came back to old colleagues that may have some discontent with that other individual and basically link arms with them and move forward in a new positive aspect of things. That would be interesting.
Considering that convention is tied together with Funimation, and that convention is one of the largest and most volatile fan groups in all of Canada, that would be a very, very interesting thing to happen. So I'm not gunning for it. I'm not wishing for it to happen, but it'd be very interesting to see what the fallout for that would be.
I can't wait. Vic's case is going to go one way or another, but the news about the way the anime industry shapes up over the next years, and possibly in part because of the fallout of Vic's stuff. By the way, I think already that Vic's case has had a massive impact.
It has.
If people don't remember, there was a list of people that were to be Me Too'd.
Yes,
and if you think that was like a 10-year plan rather than a 1-year plan, I've got news for you. And virtually none of them had those accusations come out. Mm-hmm. So that they reassessed and reevaluated that approach really quickly. And
there's plenty of reading.
Yeah. But I think how this stuff shapes going forward is going to be very, very interesting. I hope people stay tuned to it, because the anime industry is going to get weird in the next couple of years.
It's the whole entertainment industry is going to get weird in the next few years. Everything from movies, television, comic books, gaming, possibly, definitely animation. Like right now with this pandemic that we're in, the comic book industry is in the toilet, and it's going down that final flush sequence because, again, they sold themselves out to large corporations who want to make the monies. and they're just not making it. But like a perfect example, let's look at the films that have been scheduled for next month. They're all being pushed back to December, and from December to 2021, for goodness sakes. And even then, movie theaters are being shut down across the block as well as across the pond, and there may not be any movie theaters for these movies to come back to. So it's like lots of money being lost, tons and tons and tons. And the thing is, everything directs everything else in between. So
there's been, go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say my local small town theater gets more money renting out the theater for like $30 an hour to have people bring in like a video game system and play video games on the big screen rather than trying to sell a couple tickets to a movie.
To a blockbuster movie, yep.
Right. You think about it, it's like, they have to sell, for $30 an hour, they have to sell 6 tickets to the blockbuster. Wait, no. Yeah, if it's $5 a ticket, they have to sell 12 tickets to do that. And then in a small town, 12 tickets to a show is actually kind of tough. And then they also have to take the cut on the licensing fee that they're paying to have the movie in the first place. And they can sell concessions for the video game session too. They'll probably actually sell more. It's a weird thing. I think a lot of theaters are going to go. Yeah, I want to do it. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but
it's a smart idea. And honestly, it's smart that businesses are innovating for different things, because this is pushing for a different, basically a different outcome after this, like a different normal from what we're seeing. I've been seeing certain restaurants that used to be buffet restaurants that strictly do ordering, like only, like takeout only now, because they're making more money than they would on the buffet style, and they're not in a rush to go back to buffet. And so it's very interesting to see these different things. I think conventions are going to be very different. Already we're having to plan much differently for 2021, and I know there's some conventions that they're not making any difference in plans. They're just planning on running the same thing, and then they keep having to postpone. And they're running into issues where, like, they were finding out, it's like, you can't just not have a convention one year and then do the exact same thing next year, because people aren't going to come back for it. Because we're like, Mr. Hop and I have talked about this on many shows. People get into that recurring thing, like, oh, it's just, we're going to go to this anime convention, we're going to go to this convention because it's something we always do. And now they've realized they have so much more money, they have so much more time, they've invested it in other hobbies and other things, and maybe they found something else they like doing around that time of year. And all of a sudden, when that convention comes back, they won't go to it. They've already missed it. Oh, what's another year? Or what's
I have a personal old friend of mine that has not gone to any conventions except for, of course, Kitchener Comic-Con. And based on the money that he saved on this year alone, he bought a brand new car.
Damn.
Which is insane.
Yeah, a brand new car. Buy it.
Look, I mean, going to a convention that's not in your town, it's $1,000 weekend.
Oh, it is. You're absolutely correct.
Even if you buy it
an hour away, even for a town like an hour away, it's like $1,000 easy.
Yep. Hotel room at least, and we're between 2 to 3 right there per night. 4 nights, add that up really quickly. Plus, you're gonna buy a useless landfill. I need this stuff. Plus, you're gonna get food. Plus, you're not gonna eat cheap. You could probably go to a couple of high-end restaurants at the very least. That's $1,000 right there. Easy. And that's one convention out of, let's say 20 per year, once every 2 weeks. So adds up. It's
going to be a very interesting thing. And like, this is what I said about the whole Vic situation and the Vic appeals, right? I've said, even if he absolutely loses everything, it comes back that everything gets like, nope, upheld, you're screwed, get out of our court. Vic is still in a way better position today than he would have been if he never filed a case. There's literally so much that people can go back and look on between the court stuff that went through, the fact that people have had literally now 2 years to bring any sort of proof that he did anything at all, and they haven't, and they simply won't. And like, all the other stuff, like the idiocy that Toye's done. The hypocrisy that, like, people like Emmett Plant and Catherine Tewson and T. Gregg and all those morons have done. All of that is front and center for people now. It's there for people to see. And Vic has done nothing but moved ahead and tried to do good things and try to do things.
And also, sorry, continue. Sorry.
And you can see it. Like Vic, for example, Vic comes out and he says, a fan wanted to do something nice for me, put together this figurine. You know, it's really cool. I think it's really awesome. And then like everyone tears him down. I mean, partially because the thing looks god awful, but that's my opinion. But but 2 weeks later, after everyone was done shitting on him for having the audacity,
yeah, exactly,
to show off like a fan creation, here comes Monica literally ripping off Pop figurines. And literally ripping off Funimation licensing.
Okay, I got it now.
And says, "Well, really? I'm promoting stuff without using licensed figures." Hee. Meanwhile, you have pictures of copyrighted characters on your fucking box. You have you have the actual Pop figurine logo on your box. Like,
wait a second. Is it Monica or Vic's name on the box?
Monica.
Oh!
Too soon.
Vic just ate the jelly bean. He didn't eat the box.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Yeah, I don't think you want to eat anything else.
Monica's figurine, supported by Vic Mann.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about Vic's is, there might be one thing on his figurine that would be licensed. That actually one thing, and that was the Persona 3 emblem.
Yeah.
The rest of it, you can't copyright. You don't own a copyright in half of a red trench coat. Right?
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's Edward Ulrich or whatever. Well, or it's Vash the Stampede, or it's just a red trench coat.
Yeah.
There's a scythe. Lots of people have scythes. Like, you don't get to just own this. These are parts of characters. Broly's a green skirt. Is it Broly's green skirt, or is it just a green skirt?
Right. Exactly.
They don't own like every aspect individually of a costume. So the Persona 3 emblem might have actually been a problem, but the rest of it is almost definitely not licensable.
And the thing is that that's only a problem if they go to full manufacturing with it, because that's all off a laser printer, right?
Right.
So it's a proof of concept. It's not even being sold. So whatever.
Yeah. And
plus to add on what Crumb just said as well, is that Vic is probably in the one best positions to be into, because he's not tied to Funimation or Crunchyroll financially or contractually. Contractually. So the thing is that all these other Funimation and Crunchyroll voice actors, they're all connected to these companies, and each company is in serious trouble right now, because what's happening is that Sony is thinking about selling Crunchyroll to Disney, which is kind of funny. No, sorry, I'm going to correct myself. Sony is thinking about selling Funimation to Disney, and AT&T wants to sell Crunchyroll to Warner Brothers, aka Sony.
There you go.
Just imagine walking into your job every day and kind of realize, I might not be here tomorrow because the corporate lords may sell this fucking place.
And I mean, like the bottom line is they like Vic wasn't making money. He wasn't making cash money from his voice acting roles per se, right? I mean, like generally voice actors are not making like $300,000 a year from their voice acting roles. They're making money from their residual appearances.
Most of them are lucky to pull in 40 to 50. And I mean, we're talking stars. Are pulling in 40 to 50 a year from their voice acting. Almost all their.
I want to ask about that, Nick. Do they get royalties off of airings or DVD sales, etc., etc.?
No, only if you voice American animated shows. So if you do My Little Pony, yes. You do American dubbing of Japanese shows, no. There's no royalties. So like going out and buying the Broly movie doesn't support Vic. It equally doesn't support Monica or Chris Sabat or anybody else. It only goes into Funimation's pockets, and then they take their cut, and then the rest goes back to Japan. These guys are not making money on their anime voice work. That anime voice work is a ticket to conventions to make. That's where they make if they're good, they make real money there, or it's a ticket to other voice work, which is what many of them should be trying to do, and many of them aren't, because they've also been making decent livings on the convention circuit.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I can do less of the voice work stuff and just hit these conventions, which are fun. I'm flown out to different places. I get to interact with people. That's good stuff for them to do. And they make a good amount of money doing it. Even if they're just getting their minimums, they're making pretty good money doing that if they do any number of shows. The funny thing for me this year, though, is Vic, I think, went to more shows than any other voice actor in the entire industry this year.
Really?
I mean, I can't think of anyone who even came close.
That's
Vic,
a good point.
Well,
Vic
and honestly, like, what does he have to lose? Right. What are they going to say?
And he had comparable numbers of shows to any of the other voice actors leading up to coronavirus. And then all of those people, the shows that invited them were the types of shows that were going to shut down. Yeah. And there were several shows that Vic was invited to that were the types of shows that were not going to shut down. Yeah. And he also was, he was invited to Matsuri. Matsuri's going to happen next year. And he's, I believe he's already confirmed for that, because they had said all guests are re-invited to the show next year. So they're putting on the show they were going to do this year, next year, then with more stuff added in.
Is your boss hog going to the con next year?
Is who?
Your boss hog, the whiskey you bought.
Oh, I don't know if it's going to that show, or my thing was it's coming to the next gathering where I know there's going to be a significant amount of people. Still in the box, still unopened. The one behind me is the old one.
Can you bring to the camera? Can you bring closer to the camera there? Because I can barely see it. Sorry.
Yeah. The Whistle Pig Boss Hog.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
It's like a $450 whiskey.
Yeah, there's a bourbon importer over here. I saw it there, and I'm not paying $800 for a bottle of whiskey.
So here you go. Here's the here's the fresh one.
My goodness.
Look at that.
I bought it for the oh damn it. I bought it for the next time I'm at any fan meetup. I'm gonna have it, and then we'll all share some, and then when it's gone, it's gone. Right. So that's how it goes.
You need to have a fan meetup where I'm at.
Yeah. Dox yourself and tell me, huh?
Yeah, dox yourself.
So Nick, what are the chances of another one? What are the chances of another? Sorry, Ken. I don't mean to keep talking over you.
You're fine. That's my fault.
I was gonna say, when's the next road rage happening, and do you think it'll be pulled out there?
I don't know when the next one is happening. I don't know if I was gonna bring it to road rage. It's a little different atmosphere. It depends on if like a bunch of people from my Discord are going to that road rage, then maybe I'll do that. But I don't know when the next one's going to be. I know Dick has talked about doing Tampa. He's talked about doing LA. I would love to go to either or both of those. I'm just eagerly, if he does one in the winter and in the South, I will be so happy. But I would love to go. So I'm going to try and get to the next one, but it all depends on timing and how much heads up we get. Cause like the Minneapolis one, he only gave like a 3-week heads up or whatever. And that was really hard for a lot of people to plan. Yeah. So I'm hoping he announces Tampa, because I have family down in that area, and it would be great to go down and hang out. And I also the LA one that got canceled by COVID, it was going to be all of the Dick Show lawyer group was going to be together. It was going to be me, Josh, Peacock, and Stephen Birch, and his attorneys from the lawsuit were going to be there as well. And so hilarious. Yeah, it was like, I was so mad that got canceled, because that would have been just a blast.
Florida's opened back up, so if he wants any place to go, that's a good place.
Florida's great.
So Ricada, here's a question for you. Sure. What's your 2021 schedule looking like for the first weekend in May?
I have no idea.
Do you have a pen? Do you have a pen or no, some paper, maybe a pencil available by chance?
I have a pen. You want to see
Okay.
You want to see my pen?
Well, sure. Let's see your pen.
That's what Ryan
I'm
Haywood
not
said.
paying for it.
No. Here we go. This is
right,
someone
you gotta
made
bring-
this for me. I don't know if you guys have seen this. This
You gotta bring
pen
it close to the.
is made of lemon peel.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
Fuck,
It's-
that's awesome.
It's a
It's
lemon
a
peel
Lamoni
pen.
pen.
Yeah.
Is
So-
that what the mosquitoes are attracted to? This is
Yeah.
why your
Oh
children
my
being
God.
infected. So,
So-
anyways, here's the deal, Ricada. Pencil Kitchener Comic Con for the first weekend in May in 2021.
I
You
will.
officially on the air have been invited.
May
The reason
1st.
why, yeah.
Okay.
And you can
we'll
count me
figure out-
being there.
Well, we'll figure out the details because we got lots of time for that. I'm just hoping the
yeah.
board will be a little more friendly towards 2021 because right now stuff is locked down, but we're putting steps in place.
We'll just dig a hole and we'll stuff you through it.
Before I forget, Nick, your measurements, please. And 2, I'll be there to give you the suit.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's a little bit.
Phoenix, what are you doing?
11.
I don't think 11.
There's a reason for it. A good friend of mine, Bulma, is making Nick something special, and I
Yeah.
plan to give it to him at Kitchener Comic Con,
That's awesome.
but he won't give me his damn measurements.
Okay, here's why I haven't. I legitimately you mentioned she was a little miffed at how long it was taking, and I thought that meant that she wasn't doing it. So I was like, oh shit. Okay, well, I guess I screwed that up. I have them now. So I got my I've got the
we
rest
do
of
have a
my-
private. We do have a private chat here, so you can send that.
No,
through.
I'll send them to you. I've got them in. I've got you on Discord. I'll send them to you
Good.
over there.
Awesome.
No worries,
And-
Nick. She's German. She'll live.
and we've had a request. I don't know if you've seen this video yet, Nick. But there's a lot of people that thought you did this song, and I had to break their heart and tell them it wasn't you. But we had a song a while ago. It was a Lemoyne song,
Oh, okay.
Spin it.
and so I'm gonna spin this one. It's gonna kick us all off, but this one goes out because you brought up the lemon pen, and we've had a request to play this song. So there
Okay.
you go.
Spend all my time wheezing through a broken lung, hoping my clients will pay. Pray there's a reason TCPA's good enough. I'll file on the last business day. I'll need a distraction, a beautiful release. Oxygen leaks in my veins. Let my balls empty. Oh, please, God, say maybe I'll feel alive again. In the arms of a consulate, far away from time here, from my dark, cold motel room, and the settlements that I fear. I'll be pulled from the wreckage of my miserable request for fees in the arms of the consulates. May I find some new career.
Wow.
You go.
Oh my God.
I gotta send that to Beerus.
Oh
For
my
just
goodness.
$5 a month, you can put this pitiful creature out of its misery.
So,
Oh,
Per month?
that was beautiful. That was
Oh,
beautiful. It made
brings
me
a
want to
tear to
sing
my
a
eye.
harmony track with it.
Right.
so I got an idea. Nick,
Oh.
if Crumb puts that on YouTube, could you add that little narration in? For $5 a month, you could put this pitiful creature out of his misery.
We gotta find a sufficiently hefty sounding woman. Whether or not she is
Yeah.
hefty is irrelevant.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Well, I do know someone. Her name is Monica. Maybe we could ask her.
I hear she does voice work.
I heard you liked her name on boxes.
Oh my God. Well, I think that is about it for us today. Thank you guys so much. Ken, did you have anything final to say? I know you've been pretty quiet, so I'll give you the floor. I think we moved Ken so much.
We killed Ken.
He just doesn't have any words.
Oh my God, you killed Jennings.
Okay,
bastard.
I'm here. I muted my mic because I couldn't hear the song. I was trying to figure out why. I wasn't sure if it wasn't because it was just black on my side. There was no video or anything. I thought
What's
Nick
wrong
took
with
over
that?
the video. I don't have a problem with that. I thought you were doing a Drexel impression again.
Oh, okay.
But I was going to say, which do you want me to have a last point on? Because there's a lot of topics.
Whatever you want.
I was
The
gonna
floor is
say-
You have 2 minutes.
I have 2 minutes. I hear that often.
But you only need a minute and a half.
Uninterrupted. Oof, that's tough. I was just gonna say it's been a good stream. Nick, you still need to get back to me if we're ever gonna do that thing.
Yes.
I know
Yes.
you've been
I
busy.
want to. I'm like,
Your
anyway,
house reno's going great.
it's so wonderful.
Sounds like
it's
a
amazing.
blast. God damn it! I was gonna say the worst thing about the Vic case is I'm sad there's no oral arguments in front of the appeals court, because someone in one of your streams a long time ago said that they would send Ty a stuffed mosquito to put on the table during the hearing, the next hearing, and Ty said he would do it if someone sent it to him. And so now that there's no other hearing, hopefully it gets pulled back and then he can put one on the table from moving forward. But Ty definitely said he'd do it, so I would hold him to that.
Oh God.
That'd be the funniest shit.
I got one more thing. Nick, before you take off, could I talk to you off stream?
Sure.
Cool. Nick, anything that you wanted to plug or mention?
Yeah, I guess I don't know if we're going to be talking about Vic's case much, but if that's something you're interested in, we'll probably bring it up tonight. Uncivil Law is on the show. Looking forward to having a chat with him for a while. I guess bonus that he gave my brief a nice review, although I expect him to fully make fun of me for not having it filed correctly yet. And yes, I am working on that. I've explained this many times, but it's not just a simple matter. If it was a simple matter of paying a fee and me writing a document, that'd be great. I have to have another lawyer in Texas vouch for my professionalism, which unfortunately most of the lawyers I know in Texas are on this case already. And I think it would look a little bit close to improper if I had them wave in an amicus when I'm supposed to be detached from their team. So I am trying. I've got some leads on someone who can wave me in, but I'm trying to make that happen. So if I can make that happen before the appeals court decides, which seems like that would be reasonable, I will file the brief. If I can't, then I won't. And we should get some great salt when I do that, by the way, because they're going to oppose my petition to appear pro hoc vice. They've already said that they're going to oppose, which is not something that, like, there's a lot of law on opposing someone's appearance pro hoc vice. Like once you pay the fee and you file an affidavit, and then another lawyer files an affidavit as local counsel, it says, no, we're gonna make sure that they, are, following the rules and all of that stuff. Like your grounds for opposing the pro hoc vice filing is really, really limited. And the excuse they're going to use is, he's mean. Also, I just want to point out and remind the world that this is coming from Wick Phillips, and they had the beautiful legal theory that because Ty Beard signed my Ricada Media LLC incorporation documents, and because he is my registered agent, that meant that I was a party to the case. And I really, really want that legal, like, if for nothing else, I want to file the brief just to see that legal theory put on paper, because it will be the dumbest thing.
In the federal record, because it's an appeals court thing, so it'll be easy for people to find, and people will see the stupidity of that.
Yeah, and it's an absolutely asinine and idiotic legal argument. Like, honestly, imagine if you opened a business with someone 10 years ago, and when you open a business with someone, they sign your LLC documents or whatever, they don't ever end up even being officers. It's literally just you have a couple people who are of the age of majority who sign basically attesting that this is a real thing that's happening. And that's the extent of it. They don't have to be managers. They don't even have to be employed by the organization, and can never be affiliated with it again. Now, let's say that person is then later involved in litigation. The same theory would apply that says that your company is also involved in litigation because someone signed a document for you at a prior time. It's a ludicrous legal theory. I can't wait to see it. And the hand wringing over it will be great. And all of it will be stupid. Again, if I had filed the brief and it was properly filed, and I think they're reading the rule wrong. They should be allowing me to appear pro se, but they're not, but that's okay. But if I had filed the brief, the one smart move would have been to ignore it.
Yeah.
That would have been the smartest move ever. It's a late filed brief. I'm an amicus of an uninterested party. The court will likely ignore it. These dumb fuckers are planning to fight it, which means the court will read it if it gets filed. Like, they're going to just do it. And it's why would you oppose this? Then it's going, because you're going to write a motion, and then I'm going to write another motion talking about why they should and why the grounds for opposition is ludicrous. And that since the court has discretion to ignore the amicus brief, that basically they don't have to deal with it anyway. And filing this opposition is frivolous. It's meant to cost money to the other party. It's meant to cause me harm. And so I'll get to make that argument. And then the appeals court's going, why are they fighting over an amicus brief? And they'll probably read it then. It's the dumbest play. It doesn't make any sense. Now, maybe they're just puffing it up, and if I do get it filed, they'll come to their senses, but won't know until it happens.
They're probably fluffing it like Toye as Catherine Tewson.
But let me just, I'll just that's disgusting, and I hate you.
Yes, very much you, Crumb. You.
But let me just reiterate that I got an email from Wick Phillips immediately, their conference email. You're required to conference on any motion, even in appeals court. And so their motion to conference, or their conference preceding the motion to oppose my brief and to oppose preemptively, they've already indicated that they'll oppose pro hoc vice admission. So like, they've taken the steps to do the opposition. It's already in play, and they did it before the first brief was rejected. They are primed and ready to fight over nothing.
That's hilarious.
That will draw more attention than they want. It would have been better to have ignored it, and then they could have passed it off, like, why didn't you address this amicus? But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because it's an amicus brief. It's an amicus brief from a guy. It's not an amicus brief from like the League of Defamation Lawyers or something, like pack of citizens standing opposed to the TCPA or something like, the entire faculty of Texas State University legal department. Like it's nothing like that. It's just a guy. You should just obviously ignore it. But oh
my goodness.
It'll be fun.
That's so funny. All right, Mr. Hop, any final thoughts?
Yes, I do. And thank you very much, Crumb. And I'll try to keep my statement down to 2 minutes. My statement is to Mr. Rick. My statement is to Mr. Ricada. You made a series of videos back some time ago.
Thank you, Mr. Hop.
And I have been meaning
Thank you,
to
Mr.
call
Hop.
you.
Sorry,
I've continued to move through, and don't interrupt me. I'm
speaking.
I've been meaning to call you, but I'm going through some stuff recently, and I haven't done that. And I want to apologize for that. But however, I just really wanted to say thank you for making those videos. They were absolutely hilarious. They were informative. I'm really happy. The Ron ones that you made, the series of 6 or 9 or how many you made?
Oh, the Ronversations.
The Ronversations. Yeah, those were fun to watch. Very informative.
I did.
I'm happy that your frontal lobe didn't explode all over the camera, which it should have by all means of pressure. So was I, but it didn't happen. But if that's the only disappointing thing I'm walking away from, I guess I'm okay with that. But however, I just want to say thank you very much for putting it together, man. I know it took a lot of fucking work. And of course, seeing Crumb's face and my face for the hours of editing you must have done with that must have been astronomical. And I'm speaking. Must have been astronomical and a chore into itself. So thank you very much, Nick, for making those, man.
It was my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. I can't believe that. Yeah, so the Ronversations by proxy. Yeah, those were premium. I can't believe this guy came out and started talking. I can't believe that Monica didn't horse kick the door down and
I did it at one point.
It was like, stop talking to these people.
I even told him in the first interview, is this something you should be talking about? Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Well, she made a cameo in the third set of interviews.
Mr. Jennings is there. He can confirm.
That was awkward as hell, but
what's that? The cameo?
Yeah, she showed up on camera.
Oh yeah.
She did?
Hi guys.
For a brief second, it was waving hi.
She drove by because Ron was talking about how he didn't even know what a television was or something, and Monica came in to verify it. Just
no, he's an idiot.
Wait a second.
Between the two interviews with
who's an idiot again? Oh yeah, that's right. There you go.
Major League 4 course.
That's Monica and Illich Guardiola. Okay, so correct me. Did Ron say on y'all's show, I think it was y'all's show, that Monica has a separate apartment in the house that she sleeps in?
Complete with its own fridge and stuff.
She's in her studio apartment, he said.
Yeah. I'm sure that's what that means.
Yeah. He literally said that she was in her studio apartment and she couldn't come down because she was too busy talking to fans.
Yeah, exactly. Having plural is absolutely
quote unquote talking to fans. I mean, we all understand.
About the conventions.
Yeah.
So many conventions did the thing that in one convention could have done it or two. Only the biggest ones. They all did the digital thing, and everybody hates that. But
of course it did.
You know what she was doing? She was talking to fans. You know what she was doing? She was charging $3 a minute to talk to these people.
Wait a second. Hold on a second. Seriously? Really?
Yeah, it was $2.99 a minute, and I'm not even sure if it was voice chat. I think it might have been text chats. In all honesty.
Oh wow!
It was because these. Here's how this worked. Here's what happened this year. Okay. Conventions got shut down, and they're like, we need a way to do this. We need a way to do something. We've got to figure something out. So they're like, people do things on YouTube. People make money doing things on YouTube. We can do that.
Yes, we can. We like to go. We're smart.
You're like, oh, look, these people are on YouTube and fan interaction is great and they're making money doing that. We'll do that. We'll charge $3 a minute. It's like, what are you doing? This is look, to any convention out there, as one of the highest level of grifters on the entire planet as far as super chats go, if you need to consult on how to interact with people and make money, why don't you ask someone who does it? Like, just ask anybody. You know how Monica could have made money? Put her in a VTuber. Like, in all honesty, if you could get Funimation's permission to license her out, like in a VTuber thing, she would have probably made a ton. And disgusting, I know, but she would have made a bunch of money doing something like that. And you could have created a new character and had her voice something new so she doesn't run into licensing issues, anything like that. They could have made a killing. Instead, they charged $2.99 a minute for disinterested text chats or whatever with fans. It's like, you have no respect. You have no respect for their audiences. They have no respect for their own profession. They have no respect for anything. Yeah. And all you had to do was ask anybody who does this.
But Nick, $2 to call Monica fat. How could you pass it up?
Look, you can come do it on my show all day. Then you get to call her fat, and I'll call her fat too. I'm giving you way more value.
Yeah,
and the best part is, some jackass is paid to transcribe it and give it to them. So you know she's gonna see it too.
Do you believe they're still transcribing all of your shows? Or no?
I hope so.
I hope so too, because it's got to cost a shitload of money.
I'll find out when I have some horrific scandal and everybody stops watching my show except for one guy. And I'll be like, it's just you and me, Transcriber Chan.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I know we normally have like an outro, but I'm gonna do something special here. I'm gonna play us out to Ron Toye. That's what I'm gonna do. What? So thank you guys so much for joining us. If y'all want to stick around for a bit of chat after, that would be great. We'll do some talking offline. And thanks to the chat for tuning in. As always, this has been another Canuckleheads special. Keep your stick on the ice, and bye-bye.
Kind to each other.
No, I was like so much better now. But where are you going? Get back here.